Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. How's it going?
Oh, man.
Why don't you just sit down on the couch? We're getting ready to do our quest to find out what our favorite movie of all time is, at least up until this point. Obviously, we will see other movies that haven't come out yet, or others that have come out, and we just haven't seen.
There it is.
Everybody's favorite segment.
Yeah. And today we're doing robot movies.
Robots.
Yeah. And just to be clear, robot. Movies about robots, specifically ones featuring a robot. None of this Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace nonsense. There's not enough center on the robot.
I mean, if there's one thing we know from movies just over the span of time is kids always love robots.
That's true.
Some things just don't change.
Yeah. Things don't change.
Things don't change.
So who's going to kick us off? Should we kick it to Brandon first?
I feel like let's let the guest have it first.
Yeah. I was going to say no. One of you guys should get it.
All right, I'll go first, if that's cool with everyone.
Examine that some layouts.
Brandon's nervous about his first time, everyone.
That's pretty cute. It's pretty cute, Brandon.
Today, my runner-up, and to be clear, the second best, my second favorite robot movie of all time, is the 1997 film Neon Genesis Evangelion, The End of Evangelion.
That's a good one, David.
And I just have to say right off the bat, when thinking about robot movies, for some reason, I was only thinking of like robots that are humanoid for a while. You know what I mean? Like a C-3PO kind of thing. And then I was like, oh, well, Pacific Rim is a robot movie. For sure.
Definitely.
And it was going to be Pacific Rim. And then I was like, why pick Pacific Rim when I could pick the movie that inspired Pacific Rim?
The hearty, confusing original flavor.
Yeah, the movie that specifically inspired Pacific Rim, just to make that sentence a little more complicated. So yeah, I picked End of Evangelion, directed by Hideki Anno and Kazuya Tsuramaki. Apologies if I have butchered that pronunciation, but I'm doing the best I can, everyone. End of Evangelion. Okay, so first things first, this is a movie that is really the end of an anime. It is like the last, it's a redo, and for those of you who've never seen Evangelion, it's 26 episodes, and the problem is that the company that was making it at the time had no money. They were blowing money like fast on all these like animation budgets, like all the fights and everything. So when they got to like the last, I don't know, like 4 or 6 episodes, they were visually, like you could see all the corners they were trying to cut to make sure they had the budget. There were like shots of just like a still frame of like 2 people's backs facing the other way and then just dialogue. Like they didn't even animate the mouths. So Evangelion ended. They had requested to go all out and do this giant, like, chaotic ending, and they did not have the budget to do it. So they put out the ending of Evangelion, which people were, even though the company was struggling at the time, while it was on the air, it was already a hit, and it's gone on to be like, you know, a classic anime for sure. But at the time, the ending that they put out was so poorly received that Hideki Anno, like, received death threats through letters.
Oh my goodness.
For messing up. So, you know, I feel like
when somebody hates your finish so bad they want to kill you.
They went and vandalized the studio.
Wow.
like I'm just last podcast on ACC, I was like, man, Star Wars fans are the absolute worst. But apparently,
because it's totally a fandom thing to be like, if they blank, we riot. But they rioted.
Yeah. They did it first. And it's funny because they actually they've put in, it's like a little Easter egg in the movie, but they have a picture of the letters that he received and like a picture of the studio like vandalized. And they included it in the movie, like in this one segment.
Nerdom is insane.
Yeah.
Tom King, the writer for Batman, people were so upset at Batman 50. It was supposed to be the marriage of him and Catwoman, which didn't happen.
Obviously.
Obviously. And Tom King received death threats, and he had to have a bodyguard with him at all times at Comic-Con.
Wow.
And it was just 2 huge big dudes just behind Tom King, just signing books.
Just around a bunch of nerds that they could like break in half.
They should have got the bodyguards to dress up as Bane. That would have really sealed the deal.
That would have been amazing.
Just snapping some people in half.
That would have been a nice caveat in the contract.
Okay, so let me give you the quick overview of Evangelion. Evangelion is a story about a world in which an apocalyptic event has already happened. There's been this thing called the Second Impact, which wiped out a bunch of life on Earth, and it like destroyed all of Antarctica. And this alien being from outer space that they call angels crashed into the planet, and there's a lot of mystery in the story. I'm not going to go super deep into the story because I feel like, first off, it's super confusing. Like, me explaining it to you if you've never seen it's probably not a good idea.
No.
But then secondly...
Even with context.
Still confusing. But then secondly, like, you should watch it on your own. There's no reason for me to spoil it. But the beginning starts off as like a bunch of kids who are forced to pilot these robots. They have giant robots, and in anime fashion, you have to get a teenager to pilot it. There's just no other way. You know what I mean? So they fight the angels, and the beginning feels very much like a run-of-the-mill anime. Like, hey, here we are, let's fight aliens, we're in a giant robot, let's have a good time. But as the show goes on, it gets more and more into like the psychological effect of putting the pressure of like the safety of the world on teenagers, and they just break down, like all three of them. Which is fantastic. You know, it's just a fun time. But End of Evangelion specifically is basically like their failure. And it's the culmination of everything you saw through the entire anime and them messing it all up at the end. And there's a lot of like, you know, you find out that there's people with hidden agendas, and it's got a very like political thriller kind of taste to it, which is sort of weird that you'd expect. It's all about like governments working in shadows and things like that. But as far as it's giant robots, which could be its own subgenre by itself. But the reason I would pick it is because it's so influential to culture. And it's one of those things where it's like, if you haven't seen Evangelion, the first time watching it, you're going to be like, what? I've seen these shots, and I've seen this done later, way in the future. And
it really is a fantastic ride.
It is, man. The last movie is just insane, and the ending...
And that's coming from like a non-anime fan.
Oh, for sure. Frank doesn't like anime at all. He doesn't like anime as much as he doesn't like Batman. Let's put that in perspective.
I hate Batman more.
Oh, okay, well.
Yeah, for being fair.
Fair. Well, this last year or two probably hasn't helped. But Frank was down. He was down on the Evangelion.
Yeah.
Because it's got a different tone to it than anime does. There's some weird anime stuff, too.
Yeah, there's gonna be some things that make you cringe because you're watching an anime.
Yeah.
I saw the first 6 episodes. I want to say first story arc.
Yeah,
that was going on.
That's about the first arc. I think maybe it's like a little further, but that's super close.
But it's good enough that it's actually on my list this year
to
watch all of it because I'm down.
And you know what? To be honest, the first 6 episodes are just not even what the show's about, which sounds crazy to say, but it changes as it goes. Which is kind of similar to my top pick. Each I guess act of the big overarching story it totally changes tone. Excuse me. Favorite scene though for sure is Asuka, one of the pilots, the German pilot. She basically has a scene where she's got to like fight all of these imposter Evangelions that someone has made. I'm not gonna say who, but someone has made them, and it's just a brutal fight, and it's set to some tasty bach. Some tasty bach. It's like literally no one cares, but it's a string arrangement of Air, which is a super famous melody from Bach, anyways, from the I think it's like a second suite. Anyway, I'm getting way off. The classical music part doesn't really matter.
Welcome back to Classical Hour with David.
Oh, there'll be more in the next movie too. But anyway, if you've seen this fight scene, you know what I'm talking about. And then it's just got a heartbreaking ending. The movie's filled with heartbreak. Like, it ends on such a succinct note, because the whole time the show has been toying and like perverting these ideas of Christianity and like the symbols. So if you're like devoutly religious, I would not suggest this at all.
Watch it. It might shake some cobwebs out of you.
Yeah, it might.
It might be just what you need.
The gears turn a little bit. I don't know. But man, the ending, we literally get like a biblical ending where it seems like the creation of a new world. I'm super excited to talk more about it, but I'm going to wait because we are going to chat about it on the podcast in the future, on a podcast.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I think we're doing it for Apollo. It's on the schedule, so we'll see what happens.
It's on the schedule because the final, the rebuild of Evangelion, so speaking of movies, if the show just is too dated for you or you don't feel like sitting through 13 hours, you can watch these movies, which are going to be about the same length. They basically redid Evangelion I think it was like 2009, somewhere around that. And they look beautiful because they're, modern day animation, giant budgets because it's a huge IP now. And they retold the whole story of the anime in 4 movies. And now, like 10 years later, the 4th one's finally coming out, the final one.
Oh, wow.
And it comes out this year.
Right.
But again, if you're new to this, to be fair, the new movies take a major departure. Like in the 2nd movie, they go off on this spot where it's like, man, this is totally different. This is its own beast. But yeah, it's on Netflix right now, the movie and the anime. And I think if you haven't seen these and you're into giant robots, even if you're not a anime fan per se, I think there's something to be enjoyed. But be prepared. It's one of those shows where you're gonna finish it and be like, okay, what happened?
What did I just watch?
Mm-hmm. And once you rewatch it, and I've seen Evangelion now so many times, like dozens of times.
I just remember looking
every time
over
it's
at
a
you
little
at
bit
the
different.
couch, like seeing that ending for the first time, just like, huh? What?
Yeah. Oh, and that wasn't
What does it mean?
That wasn't even the first time I saw it. You know what I mean? The first time I saw it was like in high school. That was just
Nice.
like,
And that was still just a continued, still no idea.
Every time I watch it, there's always like a moment where I'm like, oh my gosh. Or if you wait enough, you know what I mean? When you come back to something and you forget these details, and then you're like, oh yeah. It's got a ton of those moments. So highly recommended. Not as highly recommended as my next pick, but that goes.
Well, that makes sense. That's just how that works.
That's how lists work.
Yeah.
And I wanted to hit Frank with this because we love the domestic box office.
Hit me with it, baby.
One last note: there was no theatrical release
No theatrical. Okay. Well.
in the United States. In Japan, it did have a theatrical release. I don't have the information in front of me of how it did it in Japan.
How many yen, David?
But it did win. It did win an award from the, what is it called? Awards of the Japanese Academy. In 1998, it won the winner of the Popularity Award for Most Popular Film.
Aw.
Yeah. I don't know how legit that award is. If that's just like the participation trophy or something. Like, oh, this movie wasn't good enough for Best Picture, but a lot of people liked it.
A lot of people liked it. They were talking about it, though.
Let's calm everyone down a little bit.
Good stuff.
All right, well, let's pass it to Brandon.
Hey! Welcome to Apollo City Comics.
God, I was kind of hoping you were going to drop one on this episode. I'd be lying if I didn't say I was hoping for it.
Right.
I'm glad to be here today, guys, because we're doing robots.
Yeah.
And this was way harder than I thought. I was just like,
Yeah.
man, I'm a sci-fi junkie. I could just pick something and be set. My original idea, and this isn't my pick, I'm just going to talk for a minute. And sorry, Frank.
It's all good.
I've
never looked you in the eye on a mic stand slap before. So it's kind of nice.
See, it just happens.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to.
I've seen it hundreds of times.
I was going to do RoboCop, the 87 one, only because I remember that scene where he gets shot up. Dude, that traumatized me as a kid. And I had nightmares about that. And I think about it now, and my stomach still hurts. Like, it was such a brutal scene.
Dude, that movie is
so funny.
gory. Like,
and it has Red Foreman in it. Like,
imagine
dude.
seeing that movie back in theaters when it came out. That must have been just like
was
sensory
destroyed.
overload.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they weren't all tainted like us yet.
No.
and then there's
I was honestly thinking about RoboCop 2, because even like the sequel, like RoboCop Dose,
RoboCop 2.
is dope.
Yeah.
Dope. I got stuck on Dose for a second. But yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
And
But I
they
didn't choose it.
Ruined the story with the remake.
Oh, yeah.
Danny and I walked out of that theater so pissed.
Really? I
That's
didn't see
hilarious.
it. I never saw it.
I mean,
They take away the they make his death, they nerf his death.
oh,
And it's like, that's what
That's what got me in the first
that's
one.
that's the seed that grows into this tree that is RoboCop.
Yeah. And that's why it's so brutal. Whatever. Okay. It reminds me of like an awesome Judge Dredd. You know what I mean? How some Judge Dredd is good, but a lot of it's bad. So, but I didn't choose it. But that's where I was going. So
Okay.
instead, I went to something nerdier. Way nerdier. And this goes back to 1977. The same year that Star Wars A New Hope was released. I think.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
might be 7. No, I think
Did
you're-
not confirm. Just put it in his notes.
I'm pretty sure you're right, but it could be 7. No, I'm pretty
It's
sure
77.
Could be 79.
I'm going to have David Google this why.
One of the 70s.
One of the 70s. But this film, Wizards.
77.
Oh, nice. Sweet. Oh, cool. Yeah, so this film, Wizards. Have you guys ever heard of Wizards?
No, I
It's
haven't.
an animated feature by the same guy that did the animated Lord of the Rings. Yeah, Ralph Bakshi. That's his name. He's the animator. He's also the director, producer. He wrote it. And it's just this awesome fantasy sci-fi story. And it's become like a cult classic over like the last couple decades. But there's a character in it. His name is Necron 99. And then his name later changes to Peace. Because the whole premise of the story is that humans blew themselves up. There's 5 terrorists and they all blew up these nuclear bombs. And it destroyed the planet. And it's 2 million years later. And fairies and elves start coming out of this like mutated world filled with mutants, and it split up between these 2 wizards. One of the wizards is
Gandalf the Grey.
It's so close. It's like such a Lord of the Rings story,
really,
but like an adult Lord of the Rings, because you see some of the character designs.
So without all the songs and poems,
pretty much. But these 2 wizards are at war, they're brothers, and they've kind of been at peace in a sense for a while. One of them keeps on trying to attack the other, and it never, they never win. It's the bad guys. The bad guys never win until the main, what's his name? Blackwater or something like that. Sorry. Black Wolf. That's how like 70s this is. Black Wolf goes and he searches the planet for just technology from previous, from humans, from our time, because now it's just nothing but magic. And he goes and finds all these tanks and all this weaponry and starts morphing stuff together. And he finds all this Nazi propaganda. And his troops have never won because they've never had like something to really charge them up and to like infiltrate and have something to believe in. So then he floods Nazi propaganda down their throats. And then when they go and battle the elves, there's just like Nazi film like playing around them. And it's all this insane, brutal World War II coverage. And the elves can't handle it and they end up dying. But so in this world 2 million years from now, which doesn't sound too off to tell you the truth, Black Wolf created this robot, Necron 99, and he's essentially like an assassin. He's the Boba Fett before Boba Fett, and that's why I chose him, because this character pretty much influenced that bounty hunter outlook. It was released the same year as Star Wars. Ralph Bakshi was really good friends with George Lucas, and
did he have anything to do with the Backstreet Boys?
That was a spin-off done in Luke Skywalker. Mark Hamill does a voice in this cartoon as well. He's only in there for 2 minutes, yeah. But George Lucas was just like, hey, try this kid out. And dang, he was in it. Huh. But also the creature that Necron 99 rides, it looks... Well, it's like this weird horse creature, but it influenced the look for Tauntauns and Empire Strikes Back. Yeah,
that's cool.
So, I mean, when you look at his design, it's one of my favorite movies is Heavy Metal, the cartoon from the 80s. Like, so come on. I mean, you look at the design and it's like almost dead on point. But the animation, I think, is super cool because they do rotoscoping, and rotoscoping is essentially, they did it for the Lord of the Rings film too. But when they get a film, and then they just kind of draw sketches over it. So it looks like they drew it, but it's like live action, but with like a drawn over. So it looks like part of the animation. Yeah. And he does a lot of like comic book stills, like just artwork. And then they start telling the story over it. So there's a lot of mixed media going on in it. And there's even like, it even starts off and it's kind of moving the camera forward and it's like a real book in front of them. And then it turns like into the story and it's all cartoonish and whatnot. But it's like an ultimate fantasy, sci-fi, post-apocalyptic, just beautiful story. And it just talks about how evil technology is and how corrupt it is and how it's going to be the end of us. And I write a lot of stories along those same lines. So just like seeing this and having the same mindset is always super cool. And it's stuff like that's just super, super inspiring in the sense of storytelling.
That's really cool. Yeah. I looked up this movie on IMDb. And I was just looking at the actors and everything. And then I scrolled down to plot keywords. And the number one plot keyword is massive breasts.
Wow.
Yeah. The second one is wizard. And then the third one is villain turns good. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Future Earth. That's the next one. 3 out of 5 found this helpful.
Oh, nice. There's boobs in this one.
That's crazy. I'd really like to watch this though, man.
Necron, this would be a cool COE on. I think you guys would really enjoy it. It's a cool story. It's a good film.
It honestly sounds pretty interesting.
Necron 99 is the bounty hunter, so he's hunting down people in the beginning, and then he switches sides, and when they kind of reprogram him, that's when he's called Peace. And all of the animation was all done by Ralph, and it was all kind of like first drafts. They didn't have time to he did all the storyboards and that was it. Like they just had to launch it. They didn't have time to touch things up or fix it. So this is just we're going to hit the ground running and go. They had a $2 million budget and they made $9 million off of it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
That is pretty awesome.
For a crazy experimental project like that. Mm-hmm. With massive boobs. Excuse me. Breasts.
That's all I have
Nice.
on the film. Honestly, it's fantastic. I've wanted to see it for a while. He also did another movie, American Pop, and it's kind of a musical journey about a Jewish family that comes in during World War II, and it
Revival Goes West?
pretty much.
No, that the thing is the first American Tale.
Oh, sorry.
It kind of shows an evolution of music in America, and it's
That's
following
cool.
this family, and you kind of see how the son turns into something, and then his son turns into something, and they follow a line of musicians, and it even goes into a punk era, I want to say, and it's super, super awesome. He did Cool World with Brad Pitt, in the 90s.
Oh yeah. That's been on the list for a while.
Yeah, we've discussed Cool World once or twice, I think.
It is so
Some writer-director credits.
horrible. I'd be down to rewatch it again.
I get that. I feel that,
I
Brandon.
remember loving it as a kid, which is probably not a movie I should be watching as a kid, but I rewatched it in 2010 or something, and I was just how did I ever think this was good?
Well, Brandon, if you didn't, we probably wouldn't have this ridiculous person sitting in front of us today.
That's true.
So
That's very
That's true.
everything happens for a reason.
Well, Frank, you want to continue?
Finish off the runner-ups here.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yes.
It is.
Awesome. I had stopped listening to you guys a while ago. It was very exciting.
Oh, you know what? Actually,
Yes, good point.
Wow, that's crazy.
I had a second runner-up that just happened right before we started the show.
Oh yeah.
But it should have been the Aqua Teen movie. What was it?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah, colon
I mean,
/
Technically counts.
yeah,
Count it.
with the cybernetic ghost of Christmas Past from the future.
I've never seen that. I've only seen a little bit of Aqua Teen. I feel like I should go back and give it another whirl.
Should just watch the Danzig episode.
The dancing episode or the
Yeah.
Danzig episode?
Danzig.
Okay. I thought you said
A
Danzig
dancing-
for a
One
second.
of my all-time favorites is Banana Hands.
Banana Hands. That sounds so familiar.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's such a crazy one.
Or what's the what's the vampire's name when he comes back as the rapper? Something P
Oh.
Pants, MC P Pants.
yeah.
Sounds really familiar too.
I love
Was that
Candy.
the first super weird Adult Swim show?
There had to have been another one.
Maybe there's another one.
I think there was a flood of them at
Home
once.
movies. That was kind of weird. It's kind of
Oh,
weird.
I forgot about home movies.
Yeah.
Home
Mr.
movies is
Pickles just
dope.
ended.
That's
Did you
fun.
guys ever watch Mr. Pickles?
Mr. Pickles is fantastic.
No, I haven't seen
That
it.
show is something else.
The pilot episode of Mr. Pickles, they give this little simple country boy this rockin' set of boobs. That's the whole plot. Just him trying to adjust to that.
Yeah.
It's such a weird show.
It is bizarre.
Adult Swim. Never change.
Metalocalypse. I miss it.
All right, enough silliness. Back to business. By business, I mean robots.
Okay.
My runner-up, I also searched back to the past a little bit, like Brandon did. Back to 1986. I'm going to talk about Short Circuit, y'all. Surprise,
knew it.
surprise.
When I thought of it the other day when we were brainstorming, I was like, I want to choose it.
I've never seen Short Circuit.
That's okay, David. For some
Never seen
reasons
it.
we're going to talk about, but also you should just watch it anyways
Yeah, we
because
should.
it's delightful.
He dies at the end, right?
That's a weird sell.
We'll get there. We're at the beginning right now, so shut your mouth and listen.
Ooh, feisty.
Directed by John Badham, who did War Games, Saturday Night Fever, and just a bunch of TV seasons and episodes. Just
That'll happen.
a ton of stuff you haven't watched and you have watched. It was written by S.S. Wilson, who wrote Wild Wild West, Tremors, Tremors 2, Tremors 3,
Oh, gosh.
Tremors 4,
Ooh.
Tremors, A Cold Day in Hell, and Ghost Dad with Bill Sleepy Cosby.
Trimmers, A Cold Day in Hell. Is that really the name of the fifth Trimmers movie?
Apparently, I didn't know it existed
I didn't know
until
we
I
had
did this
5.
research, dude.
Wow.
I might have to watch it because I've seen all the other ones. If I
Really?
hate all the
You've
back,
seen all of them?
dude. Well, I thought I had. I've seen 4.
Is 4 the 4 is the Old West one, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, gosh.
not great.
Yeah.
Didn't need to happen for sure.
I mean, 2 didn't need to happen.
Yeah, for reals. 2 really didn't. 2's the last one where it's like okay, and it's okay at best. The other writer on this flick was Brent Maddock, who did Wild Wild West,
Wild Wild
Tremors, Tremors 2,
What?
Tremors 3, Tremors 4, Tremors, A Cold Day in Hell, and Ghost Dad with Bill Sleepy Cosby.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Stars Ali Sheedy as Stephanie Speck.
Ali Sheedy.
Yeah.
Breakfast Club.
Steve Gutenberg, who plays Newton Crosby, a little engineer inventor guy of Police Academy fame.
Yeah.
We have Fisher Stevens playing Ben Jabetuya, and this is where things get problematic because it was 1986, and we didn't know yet that it wasn't okay to make fun of people's cultures using a white person colored like those people.
Yikes. Are you telling me Short Circuit's got blackface?
Brown face, David.
Brown face.
There's an Indian character with a heavy Indian accent. Played by a white man.
What year was this again?
1986.
That's amazing because 1986 is also the year that we were cursed with Soul Man.
Yeah.
Where C. Thomas Howell goes full blackface to get into a.
It was a big
black
year
fraternity.
for racial insensitivity.
That's strange, man. Okay.
Yeah, it is strange. But what are you going to do about that, you know? Also, Austin Pendleton played... no, that is the actor who plays Howard Marner. He's like this executive that works for like the laboratory company. And I always remember him best from his role in My Cousin Vinny. He's the lawyer that the boys get who has like the terrible speech impediment.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so good. What a good comedic actor. And G.W. Bailey, who plays the head of Nova Laboratories Security. And he played opposite Gutenberg in Police Academy in 1984 as Lieutenant Harris. He's like their curmudgeon lieutenant that they're always trying to get around.
Yes. Yeah.
If Police Academy is Animal House, he's the dean.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice analogy.
They're just
man.
like,
Yeah, it definitely connects. Frank did a fingers coming together to make a connection motion.
Yes, and you heard the hydraulics, so don't have to explain that to you, but I did anyways. Short Circuit had a $9 million budget. It made $5,906,808 opening weekend, though.
Okay.
It grossed $40,697,761.
You go Short Circuit.
Yeah,
Surprising.
they did it. They turned it around, even with the brown face.
Well, back then, everyone was just like, oh, this guy's hilarious.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, the plot of the film, it's really just like Newton Crosby is this inventor engineer who envisioned these robots for non-military applications. He's like a friendly guy, but he works for Nova Laboratories, who has been contracted by the military. So now, obviously, his robots have lasers strapped to them. They have a bunch of battle commands. They're just killing machines.
Whoa, okay.
The movie opens up to like this demo where they're just like blowing up all these tanks and jeeps. They're like seriously deadly robots. It's insane. The robots are like charging off to this demonstration, and they're all like sipping wine with the fat cats, trying to get like people to invest and stuff like that for the war machine. We got to keep the war machine going. One of the things I really like about this movie is they're always taking jabs at like the military industrial complex. It's good stuff. But like light jabs because of 1986, you know what I mean? We were just getting there.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah.
All of a sudden, one of the robots is out there charging, and the generator that they're charging on is hit by lightning. Number 5 is the last one in the row, so he gets the jolt, and he short circuits, and he goes all wild and haywire through a wacky series of events. He ends up on a truck and ends up crossing over from Washington where Nova Laboratories is, over to Oregon, where he meets Stephanie Speck, played by Ali Sheedy. Stephanie Speck is this like peaceful, like loving lady who runs a lunch truck. She sells like soups and sandwiches and stuff around the town for lunch.
Wow, she was in she was in before the food truck craze.
Yeah, right. And then that's what made me laugh, because they called it like a lunch truck, I'm pretty sure. Well, like, wow, they didn't know what a food truck was. Idiots.
It's like that
stupid morons.
That episode of Seinfeld where they all joined the gym, but they called it the health club.
Weird.
They're all like, yeah, I'm going to get a health club membership.
Well, they also had like a spa and a pool and stuff there. I think that's different.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, where you go and they like hit you with leaves and
But
stuff.
the episode was specifically like, we need to go a place where we can work out.
How
I was
funny.
like, this is weird.
Go to the health club.
The health club.
Health. Yeah, so this really compassionate lady, she runs like a de facto animal shelter out of her house. There's just like a ton of animals and the city's all pissed about it. But then this robot gets there and this dumb lady thinks it's like an alien the whole time. Like when they first interact. And then she finally ends up figuring out it's a robot. She opens up to the robot, complains to her about like how her whole family forgot her birthday. And the cute boy just won't pay attention to her. It's a whole thing. Or maybe I'm getting another movie confused. Anyways, plot continues. Johnny Five is, at this time he's not Johnny Five. That's a spoiler. I'm sorry.
Dude.
Number 5.
I haven't even seen this.
I know. I'm sorry, David. I ruined your whole viewing experience.
Well, I mean, you would have ruined it anyways by the end of this description.
True. Spoilers continue. Number 5. The whole movie just kind of follows number 5 as he like takes things in from the world, and it's like a highly intelligent child like trying to learn about the world, but like really rapidly. But that's kind of like the vibe that Johnny Five gets. All the war stuff is out of him. He like learns what death is through Stephanie Speck, and I think he calls her Steph a lot too, if I remember correctly. So yeah, the whole movie just kind of follows Johnny Five as he learns about everything. He learns about death. He learns about, I mean, really everything. There's a scene where Stephanie Speck like gives him all the books in the house. He reads all the encyclopedias and everything. He's just blowing through them, and he's just got all this knowledge. But he's also like an infant, kind of. He's got this like innocence about him.
Okay.
The world is just like wonder, you know what I mean? And it's kind of endearing.
I just want to point out real quick too, this is a great trope of the robot genre.
Yeah.
Specifically when the robot has some sort of artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. Like iRobot, for instance, a movie that would never be on this list.
No.
No, I can't.
If it's your winner, you're done. You're out.
All right, guys. I guess we'll see you next week.
Good stuff. Good point, David. Yeah, but for reals, that's always the thing. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
like, what is love?
Yeah.
What are feelings?
Yeah. And that's kind of the whole point to the movie underlying, like, what is a life? Like, not where does life begin? Because that's a whole nother argument. That's a whole nother,
like
that's a
Jurassic
different
Park or
podcast. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that podcast.
Gosh, it's a scary podcast.
And if we just invite some, like a bunch of pro-lifers come like debate with us, that would be a weird day.
I've always wanted to do a debate podcast episode where we get really heavy into something like let's get a bunch of Trump supporters in here and let's have like a Trump debate.
That'd be pretty crazy.
That would be crazy.
We'll wait until after he loses the election.
I'm talking like minimum 7 because we got to get up to like the brain level of 2 people.
Makes sense.
You know what I mean?
They all have to do some of the lifting. Obviously, this whole time that Johnny's off, that number 5 is off learning about the world.
Man, ruined.
The security team is following him in like these little tanks and jeeps and like helicopters. It's supposed to be the security team, but they're like a military. Like this guy's like gung ho. He's like, we have to kill this robot. The other robots send at him. There's tons of awesome humor in the movie. One of the scenes that sticks out in my head is when the other 4 robots come to like attack him. He dismantles them and he rewires them. He fools them, and then the military are coming up to the last spot where they knew he was, and 3 of the robots come up, and they're the Three Stooges. They do a whole Three Stooges bit.
Oh gosh,
it's great. It's
That's
fantastic.
hilarious.
Gotta love the Stooges. Some of my other favorite jokes, while we're just on it right now, I mean, he just starts talking a bunch of like slang that like a kid in the 80s would. He's, I don't know the exact words,
like,
but he's
"Rah!"
essentially calling people like bozos and stuff like that. He's real snarky
like,
when
"What's
he's
up with
like
these clowns?"
fighting these military dudes, but the whole time he like is a pacifist about it because he doesn't want to God, what does he keep calling it? He doesn't call it like dying. He calls it dismantle.
Wow.
Yeah. Because that's how Stephanie had to
Exterminate.
like explain it to him.
Oh, okay.
He learns about death, and it's kind of sad because you can hear like the sadness in his robot voice, which is very robot-y. It's all beat Stephanie. But then he gets some more personality as it goes along. It's quite endearing, and it feels very much like an 80s movie. You're watching it and you're like, this movie's from the 80s.
When you were a little boy, I was stolen from you on Christmas.
Was his name Ronnie the Robot?
Robbie the Robot?
Robbie the Robot?
I have no idea.
Yeah, Robbie the Robot. No, Omnibot.
Omnibot.
We're thinking of
A Very Sunny Christmas.
of Ronnie the Rat. We're getting confused with two Sunny references.
What are you going to do? So many Sunny references to make so little time.
We have to get at least one in this episode. That's the Watchmen of WeDAP. We have to mention It's Always Sunny once an episode.
I've been looking for a Watchmen reference like since we started.
You've been trying. Don't force it, Brandon.
I guess I
Just feel
kind
it.
of got it covered.
My other favorite joke and it's not even really just a joke, it's just like a silly moment in the movie. Steve Guttenberg ends up finding Stephanie and number 5, and he decides he's going to like he just had this conversation with Stephanie, and Stephanie's telling him like he's a life, and throughout the whole movie Steve Guttenberg keeps going on about like robots don't feel, they just like they're metal and programming and like wires. That's like what a robot is. But she's like he's alive, like I've been hanging out with this thing. Kind of falling for him too. Now that doesn't really happen. That would be weird if they Howard the Ducked it, you know what I mean?
Oh, I think there is a movie where that happens with a robot. Maybe it's
robot?
Short Circuit 2.
Maybe it is.
The second one.
I haven't seen the second one in a long time.
Second base.
But I know that I've seen it. But that one primarily features brownface. I'm pretty sure they couldn't get Steve Guttenberg back for the second one.
They went harder with
Doubled down on the brown. And the worst part about the brownface is he's like a very like a racist person's like stereotypical idea of an Indian person living in America.
It's like a live action Apu.
He messes up all his like idioms and sayings. He like mashes them together, you know. He doesn't get like the turns of phrase quite right. He's always mixing words up and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And I almost did the accent to show you how racist it was, but I think I'll pass.
Yeah, dude.
You know, that's a hard pass.
Probably a good idea.
As soon as I did, like my guardian angel or whatever, like put their hand on my chest and was like, bro, before you do this,
Let them YouTube it.
We just have to like beep out a big part of the podcast.
just watch the movie. You'll see it. You'll cringe. And then you'll watch the rest of the movie. But yeah, he's out there trying to give him all these tests, and he's finally like, I got it. I'm going to give this robot a Rorschach test. So he spills some tomato soup on his paper. He folds it in half.
A what?
A Rorschach
Rorschach
test.
test.
A what?
A Rorschach test.
Oh, okay.
And it's so funny because if you hadn't mentioned it, you could have done it right now, but now it just feel like pandering.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
No, it's a callback. That's what it is.
Call back. It was a pre-reference.
Yeah, that's pre-reference. We were warming you guys up.
But he gives him this Rorschach test, and at first he just tells him like what's in the soup. You know what I mean? He breaks it down like all the ingredients. He's like, "See, you're talking like a robot." And he's looking at it a while, and he's like, "Oh, it's a butterfly. It's a bird. It's like it's a maple leaf." And he's like, "What? Where?" And he shows him. He's like, "Oh my god,
It's a smashed up skull.
And then he tells him like a slightly racist joke, and number 5 starts laughing, and he's like, "Wow, that's a spontaneous emotional reaction." And finally, Steve Guttenberg's on team. This robot is alive. He's a real boy.
Nice.
Just on time for the military to find out what they are and try to kill them.
Get your feelings and snag them away.
Yeah, and you get a big... And you know what? I'm not even going to give you the last part of my notes because I've spoiled the whole thing. Well, I spoiled the last turn. It's honestly delightful.
Oh, okay.
I was wrong though, right?
But you know what?
Oh, no,
I have to, because there's one last part. I have to discuss this ending because it's the most ridiculous ending to a movie that I've seen in a really long time. Besides, which Halloween or which Friday the 13th did we just watch?
Oh, Friday the
Where
13th, Part 7,
where
new
the drowned
blood.
dad comes up to save her
in, like,
and then pops
pirate's
up one more
clothes.
time just to be like,
Oh, yeah, they
my
double
God.
down on it.
yeah, they double down. He pops up one more time just to look at her and go like, "I love you," and then go back into the water.
Oh, my
That
gosh.
movie's
That is a bad ending.
Yeah.
So anyways, just so this all makes sense, they find them. There's this whole big thing. Johnny, number 5, takes off sprinting out of the back of this van where Steve Guttenberg gets like his mobile lab. Takes off running. They're shooting, and finally like a helicopter comes and drops a bomb on this dude. blows up. And like the soldiers are walking off with like chunks of his arms and legs and stuff, just little bits of this robot, like they're the pieces of the piñata that they're putting their candy in. It's really funny. They're like, oh, dude, I got the arm. Yeah, bro. They're just like really stoked about it. And they're driving off all sad. Steve Guttenberg and Ali Sheedy and Johnny Five like pops up out of the back. He's like, I'm alive. Big surprise ending. Woohoo, I did it.
My gosh.
He had like put together a decoy out of all the spare parts in there and programmed it to just like haul ass and die.
Oh my gosh.
Which is kind of messed up.
Wow, yeah, when you think about it. Because they were going to do that to him.
Yeah, and that was like one of his brothers, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Kind of messed up. But anyways, they're driving in the van. They're like, where should we go? And they decide together that the three of them, who have all only really known each other for like a couple of days, are going to move to Steve Guttenberg's dad's farm in Montana that he left him. Like they're all going to go live in Montana together. That's how this movie ends. And then they drive off down a winding road.
Wow. That
Fantastic.
So many turns.
Yeah,
Something
so many
crazy.
turns. And it happened so fast. They're like, oh, shit. And he's like, well, my dad left me this land in Montana.
They should do a prequel where it turns into like, or a sequel where it turns into like City Slickers.
Yeah,
but instead
right.
of Billy Crystal, it's this little robot. It's
a
a
robot.
cowboy hat.
God, what a silly
Oh,
80s ending, man.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Wow.
What a ridiculous idea.
I remember watching that
Like-
movie as a kid all the time.
It's like they lost the last couple of pages of the script and they're like, quick, we need something. How does it end?
Jeez.
Okay, so they move to Montana together and they take all the animals and they're like, where are they going to live in Montana? So what if Steve Gutenberg's dad
That
left
dude's
him some
dead.
land?
That guy.
Like,
Oh my
and
gosh.
and Ali, there's a whole like romantic tension going on between Ali Sheedy and Steve Guttenberg, obviously, but they really only have like one conversation before that spark is like there.
Oh, yeah,
And then
that's
they
always
have
a weird one.
one more conversation, really, and then they move to Montana together.
Wow.
The 80s.
I
Yeah.
guess Ali Sheedy didn't have anything going on. She
Nah.
wasn't.
She was like, I'm down.
She had no affairs to tie up or anything like that.
I remember it being a lot darker than it ended up to be.
No, Short Circuit 2 is a little bit more action-y, if I remember. But yeah, it's not very dark.
I remember the robot bleeding at some point.
No, there's like a scene where he is getting shot and it feels like stressful
Oh, wow.
because he's like actually getting shot at. And they're like, no, you're killing him. He's alive. Because he is. He's alive.
He was just like
Because of the
6-year-old me watching it.
thunderbolt and lightning. Very, very frightening.
That's cool, man. I feel
Yeah.
like I should watch that.
It's a good
I
movie
love a
for
good
sure.
80s comedy, and it's nice to find one you've never seen.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll check it out.
His wheels are super cool. Isn't like
Well, they have them on like a tank track system.
Yeah.
yeah, I've
There's
seen
actually
the robot.
like a company that makes like this tank track thing that you can put on your truck for like snow and stuff like that. You just
Seen
replace
that.
it. It looks just like those. It's like the triangle shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, his tracks look just like that.
I feel like
That would be
Chappie
pretty
was
cool.
like a rebooted Short Circuit when I first heard about it.
I've never seen Chappie.
I've never seen Chappie.
Me either. It got
I heard
really,
not great things.
Yeah, I got middling reviews, and then I skipped out on it.
And I love Diane Ward.
Yeah, and I love
What's her face from Diane Ward?
well, the guy who directed the other two movies, like District 9.
Fantastic
wow.
movie.
Great
Yeah.
movie. And then Elysium, I saw it, and it was okay.
Elysium's like very visually pleasing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like it's all right.
District 9 was a little more subtle with its social commentary, and then Elysium like goes like a little too hard on it. Just like, I
Oh,
get
the
what
rich
you're
people
trying to
are
say.
like up in the
Oh,
thing.
they're up in
and
the
we're all down
sky.
here.
It's like,
Yeah.
is this Land of the Dead or something? But, well, I'll move on. Here we go,
Yeah,
everyone.
David, give us your number one pick. Let's get to the winners.
Here it is. And you know what? Quickly, before I give you my winner, I just wanted to hit a couple of honorable mentions. There are so many ways to go through giant robots. I already mentioned, like, did I want to go with giant fighting robots like Pacific Rim? Did I want to go with a story centered around the robot and maybe it's not a happy tale like Terminator or something, you know what I mean? Another great one. I almost went with The Matrix, trying to finagle my way in there. Because if you watch the Animatrix, The Matrix starts like it's with AI. It's like with them inventing robots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what gets them plugged into The Matrix.
So cool.
So I don't know. I thought about a lot of those. I ended up settling on, and this is even funnier because I thought for sure one of us would pick Ex Machina, and I said it. So I really cursed myself. I should have went with it.
Yeah, one of the reasons I didn't pick Ex Machina is because I heard you say it, and I was like, well, David's going to talk about Ex Machina.
Ex Machina is so good, man. It feels like a 2-hour-long Black Mirror episode or something. But even more intense. Anyway, the real top pick is Steven Spielberg's AI, Artificial Intelligence, from 2001. That's an old movie. Mm-hmm. This movie, it has a very special place in my heart, everyone. I now have an excessive movie collection, let's be honest. It's too many. But it'll keep going. You know what I mean? Let's get more.
But it's like full of great things, though.
That's why I try to curate. You know what I mean? I'm not like, let me buy all of Fast and Furious.
Before... what was it, 2018? Like, I also had some bad movies.
Oh, it did. And I really went
There's some movies we didn't make it 20 minutes through, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Long story short, just to fill in the viewer, I worked in a series of movie stores for years, like 6 or 7 years. And then when you're there, people bring in a movie and it's like, oh, well, we only paid 50 cents for it. I'll give you $1, like, out of my own pocket if you're down to sell it. You know what I mean? So then there would be days where I'd come home with like 5 or 6 movies. And then obviously you're not going to sit down and watch 5 or 6 movies right there. So the collection got... Oh, and then there was a while when I was in the store. I knew what movies were expensive. So I would go to like a pawn shop where they would sell like 10 movies for $10 and find movies that I know I could turn a profit on and sell them more for $1.
Dang.
So I would buy like $10 of movies, and then... on a terrible run, I'd only make like $30, so it's like a $20 profit.
Still not a terrible run.
Yeah.
But sometimes, dude, if I found the right movies, I could sell them for like $60, and it was wow. I just got $50 from just like shopping. You know what I mean?
It's like comic books.
Yeah, it's essentially the same idea. Yeah. But anyway, this all started when I was in high school. When I was like 14, I started a movie collection, and I was getting really into it. And Artificial Intelligence is literally like the 3rd or 4th movie that I bought. Nice. And the copy that I have is still the copy that I bought from GameStop when GameStop used to sell movies. Just like a totally... Whoa. That's a long time ago.
What a tale from another era.
From another era, right? And just like GameStop selling movies, AI, Artificial Intelligence, is a tale from another era, everybody. It takes place in the future. And a quick summary for you if you're unfamiliar with the tale. It's written by Brian Aldiss, who wrote
over here?
Who wrote the short story Super Toys Last All Summer Long, which is what it's based on.
I didn't know that.
Ian Watson also helped on the screen story. And then one of the reasons why I was interested in the movie, as a teen, I was getting really into Stanley Kubrick, and Kubrick worked on this movie and its script for like 20 years.
Really?
Yeah, he was working on this movie since like the 80s. And Kubrick had said back then that we have to wait until computer-generated technology gets better, because there is no human child alive that can portray David, the young boy android that's in the movie. And
who could be that precious, that pristine, that innocent looking.
And then we were given Haley Joel Osment.
Ooh,
it's beautiful.
Boy.
So the story...
What a sweet angel.
The story starts off with actually something I totally forgot about until I watched this movie again. And that's that the movie hits on climate change right at the beginning. So... basically, it's the future, and I think it's 2045 or 2085. It's somewhere in the future, but we're told...
I'd just say 2020. It'll be fun.
The year 2020. No, they're like, well, global warming and greenhouse gas emissions continued without anyone stopping it, and the polar ice caps melted, and the sea levels rise, and suddenly every coastal city in the world was flooded, and millions were displaced. Billions of poor people died all over the planet, and I was like, oh gosh, this is like gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Wait, is this entire movie gonna be about climate change?
Yeah. When I watched it,
did I accidentally put in Inconvenient Truth?
I know, right? It actually, yeah. And I think Inconvenient Truth came out in 2001, man.
Huh. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it did. I remember watching it like around that time.
Somebody like working on that movie just went to school with Al Gore and found out what he was doing, and they were like, "Yeah, I gotta I gotta steal this."
Or the other way around. Al Gore read that short story as a kid, and he was like, "Oh wow, this one actually, whoa, that's a scary future." But anyways,
I don't know. I
2000?
don't
2006.
remember what Al Gore sounds like, but I'm just going to go ahead and say that was a great Al Gore.
oh, thanks, man. I was trying. It's mostly based off the South Park impression of Al Gore.
That's fine. Impressions can be like rumors. You know what I mean?
So we're opened up. After that, we learn that all these people died. All these poor people, the lower class, died. And now the people that are really left are the rich people who had the money and resources to move and relocate. And the scales, the scales of social class are all messed up. They get into making robots, and they make these robots because they need someone to do all the jobs that no one wants to do anymore. And they have no impact on the environment. They don't eat. They don't emit any kind of gas. So this is sort of like the solution. You know what I mean? We can make these robots. We can live our comfortable lives. We don't have to worry about destroying the planet anymore. And that's just sort of the introduction into the world of AI that we need to understand that it's filled with these robots. We also have a guy named Professor Hobby. He's a big actor. It's William Hurt, who you might know from the film Lost in Space from 1998. Not a great movie. But he's a character actor. He's in a ton of things. I don't want to get in William Hurt. He's barely in this movie. But at the beginning, he's like the head architect of these robots. And there's this great line of dialogue that just like, it hits me right in like what this robot subgenre is all about. There's a female colleague talking to him. She says, it occurs to me with all this animus existing against mechas today, and animus are talking about real people, mechas, obviously robots. It isn't simply a question of creating a robot who can love, but isn't the real conundrum, can you get a human to love them back? Professor Hobby says, ours will be a perfect child caught in a freeze frame, always loving, never ill, never changing. With all the childless couples yearning in vain for a license, our mecha will not only open up a completely new market, but will fill a great human need. The colleague says, but you haven't answered my question. If a robot could genuinely love a person, what responsibility does that person hold toward the mecha in return? It's a moral question, isn't it? And then Hobby says, the oldest one of all, but in the beginning, didn't God create Adam to love him? And I was like, boom,
I
dude.
remember watching that for a class, and I was just mind blown.
Mind blown, dude. And they wrote a whole Alien sequel about that line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They wrote all of Prometheus from that one line, which also would have been a cool robot movie. Prometheus is... Alien Covenant is actually really about the robot.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of poop around that movie to get to the good part in the middle. You gotta do a lot
of poop.
You got to do a lot of shoveling to get that deep.
It's like eating a crawfish. You got to scoop the poop out.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Alien Covenant, like eating crawfish. So anyways, back to the story. So they create David, who is this little boy played by Haley Joel Osment. He is a robot. And they're trying to find a candidate to test them. Meanwhile, we have a family, and the mother's name is Monica Swinton. The husband is Henry Swinton. And Monica Swinton is played by Frances O'Connor, who is the love interest in Bedazzled, the guy that the girl that he's trying to get in all these like failed wishes to the devil. Their son has been in a coma for 5 years, and he's like brain dead, and they're like, there's no way he's coming out. So the husband he works for this company. He decides to sign up for this test run and brings it home. And the mom is like so upset. Like, how could you think of replacing our son? And then we get the first act of the movie where Haley Joel Osment is like the creepy little kid. It's also worth pointing out that Haley Joel Osment took a lot of direction on himself to become the robot. Like, he's the one who he decided on what his posture was going to be like.
Oh, wow.
For like how to portray a robot. He suggested to Steven Spielberg, I don't think that David should blink at all during the movie if he's a robot. And Steven Spielberg was like, that's a great idea. And you know what? No one is blinking. Like, all of the robots in this movie, no one is blinking.
Nice.
Although they do miss a couple. But
editors.
Dude, those editors were pissed when they couldn't find it.
Yeah, you can't CGI the eyelids out like Superman's mustache or something. The technology wasn't there yet. But anyway, that's our first act. Now, the big twist in this first part is that the son comes back after the mom starts getting attached to the little boy, to David, her real life son wakes up, who's played by Jake Thomas. I'm going to be honest, I don't know what else this guy is in. His face looks so familiar as a little kid. He is Matt McGuire. Oh, he's the little brother in Lizzie McGuire. For the second Lizzie McGuire reference of WeDAP.
That's crazy.
That's so weird.
Yeah, legit. I watched a lot of Lizzie McGuire back in the day.
It was one of those shows
because
where, like,
Hilary Duff has got it going on. And we've always been like close.
Still does.
Age range.
To be fair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I didn't mean like currently now. I'm saying Hilary Duff back then had it going on. Me back then, I was like, yo, Hilary Duff is banging. Yeah. And me looking at Hilary Duff now, I'm still like, yo, Hilary Duff is banging.
There it is. There it is. You heard it here first.
Yeah, heard it here first, folks.
Man, I got totally sidetracked by Hilary Duff.
Oh, I was thinking about the kid that had Down syndrome in one of those Disney shows. I'm thinking of a totally different show. Okay, never mind.
I don't remember a Disney show with a kid with Down syndrome.
There's a kid that...
Are you sure you're not thinking of Even Stevens?
Are you thinking of Beans from
Yeah,
Even
that's what
Stevens? He
I'm
doesn't
thinking.
have Down syndrome. He just looks unfortunate.
Yeah. He's also our channel mascot, so let's not insult him. That's actually what
calm
the
down.
Beans is referencing.
He's our executive
It's referencing
producer.
The Even Stevens
He's
character.
who gives you your paycheck.
Yeah. He's been doing all the video editing, in case you're not sure. He doesn't like to be on camera anymore because people make Down syndrome jokes like Brandon. You heartless.
Brandon just
you heartless
honestly
monster.
thought he had Down syndrome.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's the best part of this whole thing.
Yeah, it was not a joke.
Wow.
This is Brandon misreading the situation.
Yeah.
I hope
Totally.
you like. I hope you like
man,
never
that was
watched an
him.
episode of that show. You know what I mean? That'd be even worse if you like. Oh, I watched a whole bunch of it. Really? He doesn't?
No, anything on Disney I didn't touch until they bought Star Wars.
Oh, well. And that worked out really well for you. So anyway.
And now I'm forced to watch it.
One other thing about Haley Joel Osment. Every day before his take, any exposed piece of skin, they would shave completely to remove any hair to make him look as plasticky as possible.
That's
wow.
dope. It's the details.
And there's a couple of there's a scene in particular in a swimming pool, and you got to think of like little Joel Osment, some guy like shaving his entire body, like poor kid. But man,
what was that guy's credit?
What
like,
an actor! Oh, I know, right? Makeup artist, probably.
Yeah,
hairdresser.
that makes sense.
That's a lot of work he was putting in.
They should have credited him as little boy shaver.
Oh my gosh!
Ruined his career.
Spoiler alert: Jude Law shows up later in the movie as like a robot gigolo, and his name,
is like a delightful role.
Yeah, and his name is actually Gigolo Joe is the name of the character. But I think he too is completely shaved. Like every time you
Like
see his
he looks
face,
like porcelain.
he's
Yeah, he
smooth.
does.
Yeah, they do a really good job of portraying these actors as robots. Anyway, so the son comes back, and then there's like this animosity between them. And ultimately, things happen in the movie where David is portrayed as being a danger just because he can be tricked into doing things. But the mom is already so attached. And she
loves him.
She loves him. She abandons him in like one of the most like heartbreaking scenes ever.
Like, my God. And that's coming from a man who has no heart.
For real. Yeah, for reals.
I've seen some like there's not much that shocks me, but every time I do get shocked, like I just look over and David's looking at me like stupid
Yeah.
human.
Yeah. Like I was like giggling through most of Holy Mountain. You know what I mean? Some parts definitely not. But others I was like, man, this is
Well, I just think of like Mother when the baby's head snaps and me and Michelle were like
Oh,
mortified and you were
yeah.
just like
if you guys have seen Mother, there's a scene where the newborn baby is like torn apart by this angry mom.
not a stretch
And
at all.
I looked around and Michelle's face was like literal horror. And then I looked at Frank and he was like disgusted.
I was like, oh my
And
God.
then I was just like, oh my gosh, where's Aronofsky going with this movie right now? Like I was so excited about just because that movie just crescendos, man.
I mean, that's
It
the part of the
starts
movie
and
that
just-
feels like Aronofsky like decided to get more cocaine and it just got there and he went really hard with it. You know what I mean? It just the pace picks up so fast and it goes so hard into insanity.
You guys got to look up an Aronofsky interview because that guy is hilarious to hear talk. Not at all what you would expect. It's beautiful. Okay, so that's more or less the first act. This movie is in a clear 3-act arc. Second act, Haley Joel Osment meets up with Jude Law, and they go to this like flesh fair place where they're
Insane.
killing robots that are out of date just for fun, like for entertainment. And long story short, he escapes. Like the second act goes by pretty quick. Also, an entire act that Steven Spielberg wrote in the movie. So the original screenplay didn't even have the second chunk.
Oh, wow.
And this movie's 2.5 hours long. So
Well, I mean, if we're going by the like Pinocchio story arc, this is like the island he goes to with the other mischievous boys.
and the movie is like clearly a reference to Pinocchio because he's really searching to become a real boy. After he's been abandoned,
He's
looking,
trying to find the blue fairy.
Yeah, it's a fairy tale character he hears from his quote unquote mother, and the blue fairy can grant a wish. He wants to become a real boy. Then we really get into the third act, which goes off the wall. It's like 2001 Space Odyssey third act. It's so insane. Haley Joel Osment manages to find the location of the blue fairy, and it's in the ruins of New York, where you also see the Twin Towers. Yeah. And this movie came out 3 months before 9/11.
Wow.
It was like crazy timing. But they show the Twin Towers. Whole city is underwater. Almost like
just ice.
A clip out of, well, later it's ice, but when they
okay,
first get there, it's all water, like Day After Tomorrow or something. But that's also ice. Anyway, he ends up
Ice is
finding
water.
where they make him. And more or less, Haley Joel Osment finds himself stuck underwater in front of this blue fairy statue in this like helicopter submersible, like all-in-one machine. And he's down there staring at this blue fairy, and literally 2,000 years go by. And like alien life forms from another planet excavate him from now what is the icy remains and basically tell him like, you were the remnants of the human legacy.
You were frozen on here before the great freeze.
Yeah. You're all that's left. And they create this world for him where he gets to be with his mom for one last day. Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
word,
yeah.
man. This end is just...
It just tears your heart
Just
out,
one
dude.
last day with his mom.
And he gets the recognition from his mom that he's been looking for the whole time.
He waited.
The need of love. And at the end...
And the companion bear just hanging out the
Oh,
whole
yeah,
time.
that's another-
so adorable.
That's a
dude.
great character too. That he's got an earlier version of himself, really.
Yeah.
Like an early animatronic bear, robotic bear that talks and knows things. Man, so this movie, I think first off, its connections to Kubrick are really big for me. Just being a big fan of his, you can see some of his imprints on here, especially in that first act where you're in this bizarre headspace where you're not sure if you can trust this little kid robot just yet. You know what I mean? He does these kind of creepy things. They even work in the Kubrick glare in the movie where Haley Joel Osment's like chin is pointed down and his eyes are looking up. It's like in every Stanley Kubrick movie, and it's just like evil glare. It's great. Also got to shout out John Williams, man, who knocked out another Steven Spielberg score. I think this one doesn't have very memorable themes like all of his other ones, but it is so different from everything else that he's composed, really. Like there's some, like you listen to the cowboy score and it's like, okay, this is definitely Western. But in this one, he's dancing, especially in this first arc when you're not sure what's going on. He's dancing between these like minimalist, playful little melodies, kind of like the wonder and amazement, because just like in Short Circuit, he's learning a vast amount of knowledge. He is advanced and intelligent, but also at the same time childlike, where he doesn't know how the world works. But then we get into when these scenes are creepy and it goes into this like 20th century, not quite atonal, but definitely like threatening music. And there are portions where he jumps back and forth like every 15 seconds. He's just like messing with our heads through music. I thought it was really cool. And his score was so impactful that for the last scene where we have these aliens showing him, you know, he wrote a piano concerto that's like 8 minutes long. And Steven Spielberg was like, we're not cutting any of this music out. We're going to re-edit the end of this film to fit this piece of music that John Williams
The whole
has
thing
written.
stays, damn it.
Yeah, it's great. Oh yeah, back to Kubrick though. There's also a great scene where on their quest for knowledge, Haley Joel Osment and Jude Law are in this car with some guys who are looking for a good time. Jude Law like entices them like, hey, I can hook you up with these lady bots once we get to the city or whatever. And one of the guys is from Entourage. Michelle's pointing that out. It's really funny. He's just like a bro.
Which guy is it?
I don't remember. I don't know enough about Entourage.
It's unfortunate.
But anyway, on the way there, they're driving in the scene, and this was something that was written in Kubrick's notes, that there was going to be a specific Strauss waltz to be played while crossing this bridge into the city, and they kept it. they kept the musical note because John Williams was like, it's perfect. I'm not composing anything for this. We're just going to use that Strauss waltz, which shows up a bunch in like 2001 Space Odyssey. Not that particular one, but Strauss. Anyways, before I get any more into classical music, I think that this is just a great like fairy tale is really what it is. It's a fairy tale set in a sci-fi universe. And I think the emotions are just so much, man. It's so intense. And Haley Joel Osment, dude, oh my goodness. This might be my favorite performance from him. This is like the most demanding work I've ever seen from him in a movie.
Well, I was going to say, like,
as a kid.
the movie as a whole, like, executed perfectly.
Oh, yeah. It's beautiful, man.
The CGI, like, isn't great, but that was just the time, you know what I mean? That's the best they had.
And you know what? Some of it is really good. Mm-hmm. And some of it is practical, too. You see this thing at the beginning of this, like, android's head opening up, and you can tell it's a real device. Yeah, some of the CGI isn't fantastic, but...
But, like, the Robin Williams scene?
That stuff's super playful.
Super great, yeah.
Yeah, Robin Williams is Dr. No, kind of like the thing from Big, when he pushes the button, that wizard guy in that machine, he's like the future version of that. Mm-hmm. And some of the stuff, man, Robin Williams recorded that voiceover under the direction of Stanley Kubrick. Like, Kubrick did a lot of work on this movie, but ultimately was like, you know what? Steven Spielberg, you have like the heart for this. You have like the actual, like, this is in your wheelhouse. So he gave it to him to have him do it. And the movie's dedicated to Kubrick. He died before the film ever came out.
I don't think Kubrick could have got that emotional aspect as well.
He would have broken Haley Joel Osment.
Haley Joel Osment would have never acted again. Steven Spielberg, and Danny's mentioned it on the channel. He's got that magic. He knows how to make a story with characters that feel like instantly relatable, and that every part of the universe, you're just like, you just fall in love with it. You're just so interested in what he's creating. Man, two great filmmakers colliding for a classic movie, guys. If you still haven't seen Artificial Intelligence, how dare you? But just go watch it. It's not a big deal. You can just fix your problems.
Yeah.
There you go.
Lovely message, David.
Wow.
You did a whole thing there, dude.
Yeah.
You like caught me and Brandon off guard. We looked at each other like, yo, dude. Oh, fantastic. That means it's my turn, right? No.
It means it's Brandon's turn for him to tell us about Love Guru.
Dude, how'd you know?
Because it's your only favorite movie.
I'm going to get some pushback on this.
Oh, gosh.
Let's get ready.
Oh, no.
For sure.
Let me stretch.
But I thought about it. I looked at a bunch of opinions of what a robot is and definitions of what robots are.
You forgot what you were doing for a second. And then you remembered.
And then I was like, oh, wait, this. And it's a rabbit hole. Oh, man. You could go down this thing for years and just have a blast. But knowing that a robot is sometimes more than, and not even like an artificial intelligence sense, but like it's meant to do like commands swiftly. It's supposed to be efficient. It's not necessarily just an android. An android is a type of like robot. So my top robot, and I did make sure it was a robot because in the Robot Hall of Fame, it's right there next to R2-D2.
Who is inarguably a robot.
Yeah, inarguably. And then I even questioned it. I was like, I mean, I don't know. I don't think this guy is necessarily a robot. But
I'm so excited to see what you're going to say right now, dude.
You're really building this up.
But I had to go with HAL 9000.
Whoa. Yeah, man. I would disagree with you.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah,
I expected that.
Yeah,
but isn't HAL more of like an OS?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, it's more of an artificial intelligence. He's more of a conscious of a type.
You're right, though. 2003, he was inducted into the Robot Hall of Fame.
But a robot, in some of the majority of the definitions I've seen, are relating it towards a machine designed to execute one or more tasks automatically with speed and precision.
Ooh, Brandon's won me over by bringing in the definition. I'm a sucker for a good textbook definition.
That's how you start a debate.
That's how you do it. You lay the parameters
according to Webster's dictionary.
Yeah.
And when a robot, C-3PO, R2-D2, they're physical, they look, they're physical things that are moving and doing things.
Yeah.
But a robot is also like a robot that builds a car. You know what I mean? It's just the arm extension.
And you know what?
it's doing
Somewhere in
stuff.
that ship, how there is like a motherboard. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
It's not
And
just
you
like
see
ether.
it. You see it towards the end and his whole being and everything. And he really is kind of just a small little square part. And in the books later on, he does merge with the astronaut Bowman and all that. Like in, what was it, whatever.
2037 or
Yeah,
something like
2000, yeah, 3000, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's in book 4. And that's what threw me out. Dude, I was debating if I was like, man, I shouldn't pull this card, but I pulled the card.
That's funny, because I also was thinking about 2001 Space Odyssey, but I was like, no, that's more of a program. But now that you're describing it the way you are, I mean, you are right.
That was some classic shoehorning, Brandon.
Yeah,
Good job to
that was
you.
great, man. 10 out of 10.
Please continue.
But dude, he's the ultimate robot. I mean, he carries out the mission unconditionally.
Calm down. He's not the ultimate robot. I haven't done my top pick yet, so hold your horses.
Yeah, that's my job to make definitive statements.
True.
This is the best movie for sure. And everyone else's opinion's awful.
Well, I mean, and you look at the influence Hal has had upon other robots and sentience later on. He's really the one that's just like, well, if we make technology and if we make robots, are they going to overthrow us and kill us? Like, he's one of the first, or if not the first, that created that question towards that.
The answer is yes.
I mean, the biggest disagreement I could make with you, though, is not about whether or not Hal is a robot, but whether or not 2001 Space Odyssey is a robot movie when Hal is only part of like a third of the story. But I will rescind any objection because it's 2001 Space Odyssey.
Plus, I'm 100%
so down.
sure you don't have any backup notes, so...
Oh, well, I mean, if he... it's not necessarily he has to be there from start to finish. I mean, Hal is like one of the, like the main antagonists pretty much.
I mean, the category is robot movies and movies that feature a robot.
David's movie, mostly robots.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean...
again, like Space Odyssey, can you even count that last third? Like, that's just a trip. You know what I mean?
It's like only... he's in all of Act 2 and 3.
He's not in Act 3 at all. Like, he's only in Act 2.
And that carries
Because
on...
the first one's about the obelisk.
Yeah.
Right?
The creation of man,
monolith.
the creation of Earth, and how they discover it and go to the moon.
And the second one is his journey, Dave, another David, his journey to Jupiter on that ship, which is where he has the entanglement with Hal. And then the third one is literally just that like trip of like him going to Jupiter, landing there, and being like transmitted through space and time.
Yeah.
Into some crazy stuff like the secrets of life and all that.
Hal's still like the second most important character in that entire film.
Yeah, that's true. You could argue that.
Yeah, because
You could
I mean,
argue that for
Bowman
sure.
is the main astronaut we focus on, but he's not even the main guy we focus on in Act 1. He comes in during Act 2.
That's true. I mean, storytelling wise, the movie's all over the place, really. And I think that's what kind of makes the movie hard for people to watch. Because it's so long.
Dragged and long. Well, and
some
then
of
I
it's
heard
so elongated.
they did. Arthur C. Clarke wrote the book at the same time they were writing and filming the movie.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And it's based off of a short story
That
called
sounds
Ascent to
like
the End.
a lot of work.
Well, and it's Kubrick had full control of like pretty much all the designs. He used to go to furniture stores
As
and
he
he
does.
would pick stuff up. It's super cool. But no, I mean he's like, I mean if not no, he's not the main character.
It's hard to say. Like,
I like how you stopped yourself. You're like, I'm going a little too hard.
It's got
here."
an untraditional narrative. Like Dave is the main character
Yeah.
just because of his time in the story.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, Hal is like one of the most influential robot characters of all time.
Yeah.
The references are everywhere.
And you think about the time it came out. What was it?
69,
I want to say so.
I think.
1968.
Yeah, man.
I
Almost
mean,
a whole decade before Star Wars.
Giving a face to a robot at that time. There's only been like a handful. I mean, Metropolis. There was a couple. There was like some real bad B movie robots before that. But it's like one of the first experimentations of a robot to be put into a situation.
Yeah, I could see that. And at the time, it was not an experiment that worked out.
Yeah.
Because the budget was like $12 million. The opening weekend was $202,000. Like the movie did terrible, and I mean now it's a success.
Yeah, now it's $104 million movie or something.
But it was the reason why Star Wars almost wasn't made, because people were like, people don't want that space stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like 2001 bombed. Bombed hard.
But overall, like 2001 has influenced comics, film, games, everything. I mean, a big chunk of sci-fi, especially space sci-fi with Journeys. It's the Lord of the Rings of space.
The great Futurama episode where the ship falls in love with Bender.
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a Space Odyssey knockoff. That's a great episode.
Yeah. I also like that you referenced Lord of the Rings for both of your picks.
Always.
You did Apocalyptic Lord of the Rings and Lord of the Rings of Space.
Yeah.
But it was
I wonder what your
move.
favorite fantasy movie would be.
And today on Movie Quest, we're doing Tolkien-esque fantasies.
I should just choose something off bat and then just be like, but it was heavily influenced by
Willow.
Yeah. I was trying to think of what Willow was called this whole time. I was like, God
That's so
damn
funny.
it, what is that movie?
We were right on the same exact spot. Well, it's so funny that you picked Space Odyssey because it is a pairing to AI, artificial intelligence, for sure.
I love hearing you talk right now because I was just like sweeping in with the Kubrick.
And there's even a line in AI, artificial intelligence, when they are having that what the real son starts eating a bunch of food to try and get David to eat a bunch, and he knows he can't eat because he's a robot, so he's like shoveling food in his mouth, and the mom is shouting at him like, or please Dave, stop doing that. And it's literally the line that Hal says to Dave when he's shutting Hal off.
That is too cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. They just lifted the exact line.
That's nice.
Yeah,
you
man.
gotta love when things interconnect on
Yeah.
the podcast. It's quite satisfying, if I'll be 100% honest.
Well, I'm super excited too because this now marks like the fourth Kubrick movie that's been on the channel. Like if you count artificial intelligence, kind of. We did Space Odyssey. We just did The Shining, and a while back we did Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
That's true.
So good.
Great movie, man. Oh my gosh. Let's get all the Kubricks.
Let's do it.
How fun.
Yeah. Eyes Wide Shut, coming in March. CLE.
Oof.
I won't be able to edit any video into it.
Yeah, right? Just none.
Well,
We'll just put the poster the whole time.
if you don't have anything else, and you know what, Brandon, I gotta say, all the pushback, you did a good job defending Hal.
I loved it.
It was a risky move.
Yeah.
It's a risky move, Cotton, but it did pay off.
Yeah.
Well, just like you borrowed this guy's 2001 to segue into your 2001,
Whoa.
I'm going to take your fear of our creations growing beyond us and smashing us into the dirt into my number one pick, Terminator 2.
Judgment Day! Woo! Dude, I was
Yeah.
I was wrestling with picking
I was-
T2 Judgment
I
Day.
was itching for a Terminator.
Oh, God. And then, like, I have a coworker named Tino. What up, Tino? Who's never seen any of the Terminators. And I'm always like, dude, if you only watch one, watch
It's the
T2.
second one. That's it.
But-
What do you need?
Well, don't you
But
have to
then-
watch the... Well, you don't.
I mean, you don't have to. They
You
do a
don't.
really good job of
Yeah, they
explaining
do.
everything. You know what I mean? Solid sequel. But I was like, really, just watch 1 and 2 and then just pretend they didn't make any more because, you know, it gets weird.
Well, Terminator does the same thing Alien does, where they just keep remaking the same movie and just acting like the other ones didn't happen or something.
Dude, for reals. Like,
It's so ridiculous. We should hit Tino
original
up.
Terminator,
We should do it.
dope. Terminator 2, they really figured out what was going on. Like, it's
Yeah.
just it's one of the rare instances of a sequel being better than the original.
Oh, yeah.
I've made this comparison like in the last 3 podcasts, but it's literally like a New Hope Empire Strikes Back thing.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where, man,
yeah.
they come in with that second one, they hit you right in the face, man.
Dude,
It's
so
so
hard,
good.
you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
so good.
I've
They're like,
seen the
cool, I'm gonna go
movie
watch another whatever action movie.
so many times in my life. I could probably recite it in my head.
Go. No. So Terminator 2 came out in 1991. It's directed by James Cameraman and written by James Cameraman and William Wisher. Stars Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator.
Yeah.
Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor.
I have no Linda Hamilton impression.
Oh, well. Do you have an Edward Furlong who plays John Connor?
I do, but it's mostly racist stuff from American History X, so I can't repeat it on the podcast.
That makes sense.
But yeah, he's a little brother in American History X.
Also features Robert Patrick, who plays the T-1000, and that makes this the second consecutive episode where Robert Patrick was featured because he also plays Mike Rogers in Fire in the Sky.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, man. Which I actually watched Fire in the Sky after our
Oh,
episode
you
because I was
did?
like, I need to check this out. It's pretty all right.
Well, that guy had a big run in the '90s then, because he was also on X-Files. And
Yeah.
that was his other huge role back then.
Yeah, good stuff. They're like, oh, this guy does alien stuff really nice.
Yeah.
He has that
Not
creepy face. You know
Yeah,
what I
he
mean?
does.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not really starring this actor, but I just wanted to name him because he does such a good job in his role, and his role is so impactful. Joe Morton, who plays Miles Dyson, the original inventor of the microprocessor, which would lead to the development of Skynet.
Ooh.
But that guy does just such a good job in this movie. He doesn't come in until the final round, until everything's like coming up, but we'll get there. Good job, Joe Morton. Fantastic. Had a budget of $102 million because this is a James Cameron movie.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was rewatching it, I was thinking like, this is actually some pretty tasteful work for James Cameron. Like he didn't go too crazy with the
Yeah.
explosions. You know what I mean? It was very tastefully done.
Yeah, I think he got more outlandish as he got older. Like Titanic got to his head, and then he was like, "Let's do it up, guys.
Yeah.
Let's do it up."
They're going to give me whatever amount of
Yeah.
money and explosives that I want. So with its $102 million budget, had an opening weekend of $31,765,561. Grossed $205 million. So they did all right. You know what I mean? Comparatively, because they blew $102 million making this movie.
Yeah.
It's hard to make that back.
Yeah.
But still, with a movie like Terminator 2 wide release, you're going to get it. It's going to be fine. Worldwide, though, $520 million. $520 million. That's insane.
That is insane.
That is insane.
That's a lot of money,
That is crazy amount of money.
right? And I mean, Terminator 2, a lot of action movies, especially from this time, you got to deal with a lot of like, this is this character, this is this character. They do a really good job of getting through that as fast as can, while also giving you an awesome chase scene, like one of the best chase scenes ever, like
Yeah.
5 to 10 minutes into the movie. You get little John Connor just racing his dirt bike through these canals and stuff, and just the Terminator chasing him while the T-1000's also trying to chase him. What a fun time.
Yeah.
What a great way to start a movie. So the movie really follows. Hold on. I wrote a plot synopsis. Let me give you guys this plot synopsis really quick.
Plot snap.
The Terminator that failed to kill Sarah Connor returns 10 years later, now reprogrammed by the future John Connor to travel back in time to protect 10-year-old John Connor from the T-1000, a prototype composed of liquid metal.
Yes.
So that's basically what you got going on. If you really want to cut it down to its bare bones. John Connor is actually the son of Sergeant Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor from the first movie. But he's dead now. You don't get to grow up with your dad. Super dead. What are
Yeah,
you gonna
well, depending on the timeline.
do? Depending on the timeline, true.
Depending on which one you're watching.
Movies with time travel get funny, and there's nothing you can do about that. The movie wins hearts because of the endearing relationship between John and the T-800, because he's just trying to teach the Terminator to be more human the whole time. And one of my favorite elements of the second Terminator is you have the T-1000 going balls to the walls, just like doing all this crazy stuff, killing everybody who gets in his way. The Terminator, the T-800, killed a ton of people in the first one. So many dead people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dead people everywhere. Dead cops, dead civilians, dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
Indiscriminately. Yeah.
He does not care. He's a killing machine. But now he's been reprogrammed by the Resistance to come back and protect their lieutenant before he is a lieutenant. And
So cool.
John Connor in a parking lot while they're having an argument figures out that the T-800 is programmed to follow his instructions. Like he is in charge. And then so he lays down the law. He tells him to do all this stuff. He kind of treats him like a big like bully. He calls these two like athletic dudes over and just has the Terminator just like beat him up just for fun. He's just talking crap the whole time. It's a good time. But he also tells him like, hey, no killing. Like we don't kill people. Killing is not cool.
Yeah.
So the T-800 just has to work with that parameter the whole time. So he's just like shooting people in the legs and throwing people around. Like at the very end of the movie, he like shoots two SWAT officers with like a smoke grenade launcher, and he just like hits them and sends them flying. It's so funny. But I don't know. That's one of the aspects to the movie that I really like. Just not the indiscriminate killing, but having to be more like tactful about it.
Yeah.
Finesse, you know what I mean? Finesse is good. And he handles it in stride. One of the really nice parts about like John Connor grew up without a dad, you know what I mean? Grew up with these foster parents. But there's this scene where they're trying to fix up the Ford Bronco before they try to take down Skynet before Skynet's even a thing. And the T-800's underneath this Bronco, like working on it. And John's like passing him like tools and just like asking him questions and stuff. And it's super sweet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can tell that he like cares for him. It's a robot growing a heart. You know, which is probably going to get smashed with all those things.
It's like the
moving
Iron
around.
Giant before the Iron Giant.
Dude, for reals. But instead of a giant animated robot, you have the future governor of California.
Yeah.
There's this super dope scene when they meet up with like Sarah Connor again, and they go to like Sarah Connor has been spending the time between these movies just like bouncing between revolutionaries and drug lords, just like learning survival skills. She goes to one of these spots so they can get a bunch of weapons and stuff. And she just like falls asleep on a picnic table for a second. And she envisions the way everything goes down, Skynet, when it realizes that the humans are trying to take it down, launches a bunch of America's weapons at Russia so that Russia will then launch weapons back at the US and kill their enemies. And Sarah Connor like envisions this like atom bomb going off in the city, and it's just so dope. Like you have all these buildings and vehicles and like these kids and families playing in this park just like light on fire and then blacken immediately and then just turn into like ash and dust. It's like amazing.
Yeah.
For like the time, the special effects look really
Amazing. So cool.
good. Dude, so good. You know what I mean?
And even him transforming and shifting, like, oh.
James Cameron's always been good about making a movie that stands the test of time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I mean,
no matter
with
what
$102 million,
Yeah.
it better polish nicely.
Yeah, right?
Except for Avatar.
Yeah. There's this super cool scene when they get to Miles Dyson's house, because they figure, like, Sarah Connor goes there first because she's like, I'm gonna freaking kill this guy. Like, it's this guy's whole fault. She breaks down there, and then John Connor and the T-800 meet there, and then they're all like, okay, like, how are we gonna convince these people like this is what needs to happen? So John Connor just tells him, he kind of gives him like a, hey, like, can you do the thing really quick? And the T-800, Arnold Schwarzenegger, takes a knife and he cuts out a huge chunk of his skin and just like de-gloves his entire forearm. He takes all the skin off and he's just like, hey, check out my robot arm. Isn't this creepy? Isn't that crazy? And they're both just like, okay, like, yeah, tell me more.
Okay,
like, I believe you.
we got it.
Yeah. Like that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But also, like, Miles Dyson is shot in the shoulder at this point because Sarah Connor went in there, guns blazing.
That
so
scene always
he's
cracks
ready to
me
listen.
because he could have just done like a finger. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But the
But he
Terminator
does his whole arm.
He goes the whole thing.
I mean, it's gonna heal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
Just slip that thing back on. It's gonna heal. It's gonna
Yeah.
heal just
Glove.
fine. So, I mean, it's an action movie. You know what I mean? You're gonna get action the
Yeah.
whole time. That's why I'm not going too much into the plot. I just want to hit the points that I really love about this movie.
And I feel like you got to know, you have to have some idea about what the plot is. Like, I have to protect John Connor. Like, people know
Yeah.
what the gist.
The Terminator protects John Connor from the T-1000. They defeat the T-1000 momentarily. They're safe for a little while. They do a little bit of planning. T-1000 shows up again. Got to fight the T-1000 again.
Yeah.
Happens several times. By this point in the movie, this has happened multiple times, and they're on their way to, God, I forgot the name of the lab, because it's to Cyberdyne Systems Corporation Lab, to try and take out all the early precursors to Skynet. They're trying to cut it off at the source. Things obviously go wrong. Guards show up that they don't expect. And then everybody's there because these guys, like, they're wanted at this point. There's already video cameras in 1991. People are wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They send everybody. The SWAT team comes in. Arnold Schwarzenegger shoots some dudes with smoke grenades. Fun time.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting shot in the leg all over the place. A bunch of dudes on this police force, like, have a limp now. Like, all of them. All of them walk with a limp. Fun fact, and this is why I give Joe Morton so much credit, because through all the events, he ends up getting shot again, and he realizes he's dying. The SWAT team, like, rushes in, and Joe Morton's kind of there as a decoy by this point, because they've rigged a dead man switch to a bunch of explosives, and he's holding a weight over it. And as he's there dying, the SWAT team finds him, and he looks at them, and he's like, I don't know how much longer I can hold this. And the main SWAT officer yells, it's gonna blow, everybody get back. Fun fact, and I realized this when I heard him yell, that SWAT officer is a gas mask clad Dean Norris,
Whoa.
aka ASAC Schrader.
Yeah.
And then I rewinded it really quick, and you can see, like, it's him. Like, you see his eyes and his eyebrows.
How weird.
Yeah, dude. And I never realized it until I rewatched this movie this last time.
Now you gotta watch Breaking Bad again and look for a Terminator 2 reference.
Yeah.
One of his parts, maybe.
Bro.
Maybe it comes full circle.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that was really crazy. But just the way Miles Davis, like, goes from, like, who are you crazy people, to, like, he has this one, his character has this one line in the movie when they're at the house, and he's just like, yeah, it all has to be destroyed. Like, I don't care anymore. Like, it just, like, we have to stop this. Because he's like, I'm responsible for, like, the world ending and our robot overlords taking over. Like, that's my fault. And then, like, his whole death scene and everything, the way he, like, trembles and he does the death shakes, I think he just pulls it off really well. For having such a small chunk runtime wise in a movie, he's got a real big impact.
Yeah. And how cool. I love seeing the origins of stuff too.
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean? That's one of the best parts.
But then also they kept making movies, and Skynet did happen, so they, like, totally take all the meaning out of his death.
Yeah.
Which is one of my biggest my biggest problems with the rest of the sequels existing.
Yeah.
And aren't some of them like alternate timelines or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's
dude.
like the X-Men movies.
It's a mess. They just went.
It's dumb, but at least you kind of get to see Halle Berry naked a little bit.
Yeah.
Which one's that?
Isn't it the third? Is it Halle Berry?
Is
or
Halle
is it
Berry
just...
in that movie?
Am I thinking of Catwoman?
Isn't it like the first sequel to win an Academy Award?
Maybe. That's interesting.
That's not the fun fact I have, but I think it is.
Well, I think you have some fun facts for us, Brandon. Why don't you give us them facts?
I remember hearing this fact because I was super obsessed with this movie, and I think Sam and I...
Sorry, The Godfather 2 was the best, or was the first sequel in Oscar history to win an Academy Award.
Fair.
1975.
It's probably one out of a handful, though.
Yeah.
Did Toy Story 3
Toy Story
win?
3.
God, never mind.
Mad Max Fury Road.
That was
Return of the
after
King.
it. That was after it.
The Two Towers won 2 of 6 Oscars. These aren't best pictures necessarily. Silence of the Lambs. Even The Godfather 3 was nominated and won a few Academy Awards.
Well,
Anyway.
the biker scene, or it's a biker bar, right?
Yeah.
That was filmed. I heard the commentary with James Cameron. That was filmed the night of the Rodney King beating.
No.
And across the street from the Rodney King beating.
Dude.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Which is even weirder because of the American History X comment from Edward Furlong, because they talk about Rodney King in that movie.
Dude, I bet they had to delay, like, shooting because of the riots. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I bet. I wouldn't
That's
doubt it.
crazy.
Well, no, the trial probably didn't happen until a lot later. Like, because that's when the riots happened.
Oh, yeah.
When those
Yeah.
cops got no punishment.
Yeah.
For almost beating that dude to death.
Yeah. Didn't he die?
He might be dead now. I don't know. He didn't die as a result of his injuries.
But I think he's dead now. But yeah, that's my 2 trivias.
Nice. That's good.
One I
trivias.
wasn't sure of. One,
Yeah.
I'm
No, you're
positive
right
of.
about the Rodney King thing. I internet confirmed it. Not to step too far back, but I'll do it anyways. I forgot this bit of trivia that I had to share with you guys This is why I need to take better notes.
You know what? It's trivia time, David.
Artificial intelligence. Back to AI just real quick. Are you guys familiar with the industrial metal band Ministry?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Ministry is featured.
I'm very familiar with the industrial metal band Ministry.
Oh, like
And Owl.
you guys are like, how familiar are you guys?
I've spent some times around a very inebriated owl in my lifetime.
That
Were
is
you
so
with
funny.
me when I got this tattoo done?
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of. Or is that the one you're thinking of?
Yeah.
How funny. All right, so
And there was
Ministry.
another time I went to Do's and Tattoos, and I was just like, well, here we go again.
Oh my
Oh, well,
gosh.
that guy would hang out there, I bet,
Yeah.
right? He's just like covered. Ministry is a band. They're in the movie. They're featured in the movie during the Flesh Fair, is what they call it, when they're tearing apart those androids. They're like the band playing, but they're
Nice.
like in masks. And Kubrick was interested in them because on the set of Eyes Wide Shut, one of the crew members was playing a Ministry album, and Kubrick realized that they were sampling parts of Full Metal Jacket in one of their songs.
How cool.
So it was this weird, like, roundabout, like, appreciation thing.
Wink, 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 wink,
Yeah.
wink, wink.
But I really want to tell the story because, and this is so funny that you guys have run into Al Jorgensen too. The singer of Ministry, he lives in El Paso. I used to play at this church, and he would go every Sunday. And it was so weird because everyone there was just like nice, like middle upper class, just like, you know, tie, pressed shirt and everything. Everyone looked so like prim and Sunday morning proper and everything. And then you see Al Jorgensen hanging out in the back row with just like his matted dreads, and they're like, it's like black and white hair, and his skin's like leathery from sun.
Leathery and hanging and covered in tattoos.
Covered in
Yeah.
tattoos. He looks like a horse saddle or something.
Yeah.
But it was so crazy because at first I didn't know who that was. And then someone was like, "Oh yeah, that's Al Jorgensen from Ministry." And I was like, "Wow, I still don't know who that is." You know what I mean? But they were telling, "Oh, it's a band and all this stuff." And one of the singers in our choir actually sang backups on a Ministry track.
Oh wow.
Like in 2015 or something. I
How
don't remember what it
nuts.
was.
Super
But
cool.
he was like, "I really like your singing voice. Like, could you do this part or whatever?" But the reason I really wanted to tell this bit of trivia was this one time I was at Target with Michelle over here on the west side, and I spotted Al Jorgensen like checking out at Target, and I just thought it was so funny because I was like, man, this is that guy who's like, he seems like a total fish out of water. And Al Jorgensen is pushing this cart, and in his cart, because I was like peeking in, I want to see what he had. He had
Just a bunch of wine.
Yeah.
two 12-packs of Diet Dr. Pepper
Nice.
and 3 30s of beer.
Nice.
That's everything that was in his shopping cart. And I was like,
was awesome.
this guy's about to throw down right now.
It's not even a party. It was just like Thursday.
Yeah.
That's so... I'm so glad you guys have also...
Well,
He's just hanging around the city.
Yeah.
yeah.
He's an eclectic man. He's hard to miss.
Yeah, for reals. He sticks out.
Yeah, I saw him get. Oh, man. Well, real brief. I was getting a tattoo done at Do's and Tattoos, and I was just hanging out waiting for my appointment, and then he was there hanging out, and we started talking because he just started talking to me for some reason, and then I was just like, oh, well, you know, figure out who he was. I was like, oh, cool,
Because
like
chemicals.
yeah, because it turns out he knows my uncle Mike.
That's also not
El
surprising.
Paso.
Oh, yeah.
El Paso.
But you know, we see him before my tattoo, and then I go and get my tattoo done, and it's like my forearms. It's a larger piece. We go and, you know, say bye to Al and all that, because he's telling us to hit him up. He gave me his phone number and everything. He's like, you guys got to come over. I live in the Willows, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And then I go, you know, say, hey, later, Al. And I know his Gatorade bottle was not Gatorade, because I have red Gatorade at my house, and that was way too dark of red.
Gatorade don't turn your lips a dark purple color.
And I go and I see Al getting tattooed on his hand, and the tattoo artist, I'm looking at him, he'll do 2 strokes and then have to wipe it off. 2 strokes
He
and wipe.
was gushing, and ironically, it was
bleeding.
like a drippy like style like tattoo. It was
Yeah.
supposed to be like blood drops, but then there were also just these massive blood
It
drops.
was just so much, and his hand was so swollen, and he was hammered at that point where I don't even think he remember talking.
No, I don't think he remembers getting that tattoo, dude.
That's why he was so friendly.
And
to be fair, he does seem like a really friendly guy. I don't want to.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
friendly.
I don't want to
very
badmouth him.
friendly,
I just thought it was
very
hilarious
friendly.
what he
Yeah,
was
super nice.
what he was buying at Target.
yeah.
Yeah, as long as everybody's consenting adults, you put whatever you want in your body.
But maybe he
Yeah.
killed those 30s right before
Yeah.
that tattoo.
Yeah,
and then
maybe he was on the way
was
there.
drinking some
Yeah.
Gatorade wine, and then that's how you find yourself, man, when you take those paths.
I'll throw in one quick piece of trivia about 2001 since David did it.
Okay.
The
This is how we should now end movie quest. Everyone
with
just
trivia?
tosses in a random trivia from
I'm
a
down,
movie.
dude.
Let's do it.
there was actually 200 times the length of film that was left over from originally being shot. And that movie's like 2.5, 3
Yeah,
hours
man.
long. But having 200 times, that's so much
Yeah.
footage that we'll never see. Well, probably don't want to see.
No.
It's movie's so slow anyways. But
And only 30 of those hours of the moon landing.
We're already here. Let's just shoot it. We have the set.
I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but the movie Moonwalkers, it has Ronald Weasley in it. I don't know. But they're hunting down Stanley Kubrick to film the moon landing.
I have heard about that.
I've wanted to watch
I
it
really
for
want
a
to
long
watch that
time.
too. Rupert Grint. That's his name. Ron Weasley.
That's a
Oh.
silly name.
Yeah,
That's a
Rupert
very
Grint.
British name.
That's dorkier than Ronald Weasley.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Ronald Weasley was an upgrade for sure.
He went in for the audition, a little redhead boy, and he was like, "My name's Rupert Grint." And they're like, "You're in."
Yeah.
Tell everyone else
Oh.
to go home.
I think Ron Perlman's the other guy in that movie.
Oh, that's a really great cast, man.
Yeah.
I wonder who
yeah,
plays
Ron
Kubrick.
Perlman's dope.
I don't remember.
Maybe it's Ron Perlman. I'm super down to watch that. We should watch that for
We
sure.
should watch it.
But it's my trivia.
Them's the trivias.
Did we cut you out of anything else you want to toss in on Terminator with our trivia nonsense?
No, I mean, I got to the end of my notes. All I would really say is it's a fantastic action movie.
Yeah.
It is a solid sci-fi movie because the whole time the Terminator's explaining like the rules to
Yeah.
John. He's like, well, why can't you do this? And he's like, oh, well, these are the rules. And they make sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, top pick number one.
I gotta say, I think this is one of the most balanced movie quests we've ever had, where we have like a nice array. Like our top picks are all very different movies in the same genre, and
But they all share so many similarities.
and then we get some weirdos too. We get some oddballs in the mix. How exciting, everyone!
Very nice.
How exciting!
Good job, us.
And now it's time for. Oh, that's interesting, everyone. Our current events segment. And today I am bringing the segment to you with this news article from thehill.com, written by John Bowden. It is published January 21st, 2020. That's today.
That's today, y'all.
7:56 a.m. Here is the headline. Hillary Clinton, weighs in on Sanders. Quote, nobody likes him. Nobody wants to work with him. He got nothing done. This is amazing. Okay, so in an interview with the...
Wow, bitter much.
In an interview with the Hollywood Reporter published Tuesday, reporter Lacey Rose read a quote Clinton gave filmmakers for the as-yet unreleased Hulu documentary exploring the 2016 campaign, in which Clinton targeted Sanders' Senate record. In the doc, you're brutally honest on Sanders. And this is now the reporter quoting what Clinton said. He was in Congress for years. He had one senator support him. Nobody likes him. Nobody wants to work with him. He got nothing done. He was a career politician. It's all just baloney, and I feel so bad that people got sucked into it. Rose said, quoting Clinton, "That assessment still holds?" she asked Clinton. And in this interview, Clinton responds, "Yes, it does." She later refused to confirm whether she would endorse or can't... There's a typo. She would endorse... No, there's not a typo. She later refused to confirm whether she would endorse or campaign for Sanders should he win the Democratic nomination this year. I'm not going to go there yet. We're still in a very vigorous primary season, Clinton said of a possible endorsement of his campaign. I will say, however, that it's not only him. It's the culture around him. It's his leadership team. It's his prominent supporters. It's his online Bernie bros and their relentless attacks on lots of his competitors, particularly the women, she continued.
Wow, I've never felt more attacked than around Hillary Clinton
Yeah.
supporters
Whoa,
at the
for
Democratic
sure, dude. Oh my
at the
gosh.
state convention, dude.
There's one last little chunk here, and I really hope people are paying attention to that. because it should be worrisome that he has permitted this culture. Not only permitted, Sanders seems to be very much supporting it.
Huh.
I'm like,
Ooh.
what?
It was like the most catty headline I read this morning. I was like, I can't believe.
In a time of catty headlines galore.
No, like Hillary Clinton would come out and say this, and I'm just going to say this right off the bat. Hillary Clinton, you cannot accuse other people of like being like, no one likes that person, when you lost to the most unpopular presidential candidate of all time.
Because people don't like you.
Yeah.
Like, that's why people didn't vote, because they just do not like you.
Like when Trump was nominated, there was like a poll from New York Times or something saying like Hillary Clinton has a 93% chance of winning the election. Like no one was predicting that Donald Trump was going to win, because you'd have to be like in either or all of it at the same time. Incredibly unlucky, a total idiot, or just like a nasty person that no one likes.
Nasty woman.
Nasty woman. Yeah. And man, Clinton just really, it's one of the greatest defeats of all time. It's one of the most embarrassing losses of all time. Hillary Clinton losing to Donald Trump.
Yeah, right.
It's amazing, man. And I love that she's bringing up this Bernie Bros thing when it's like, obviously you guys are the ones who started this.
Yeah.
Like these
100%.
sexist attacks. Like there's no doubt in my mind.
And then, like, why do you even need to come out and talk smack about Bernie? You know the DNC's still trying to give him the shaft anyways.
Oh, yeah. Well, more importantly, I really want to see this documentary now, because obviously Hillary Clinton's going to have some big voice in it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, are you guys going to touch on the fact that the DNC corroborated with the Clinton campaign against the Sanders campaign? Like, in facts that cannot be refuted? Interesting. I'm curious to see this and see what they say. But it gets better. So that was like at 8 a.m, you know what I mean? And then today at the same time, published at 8 p.m. at night, Tulsi Gabbard put out, after earlier in the day, Tulsi Gabbard just being like, I like Bernie Sanders. And there being a huge Twitter storm of just like people doing like hashtag I like Bernie. And a bunch of candidates got on it. Gabbard went in on Hillary Clinton in like official release, and she said, "It's time to grow up. This isn't high school. We're talking about real challenges that our country needs to address, and the need for real leadership to focus on them, not on what's going on in Washington and the schoolyard cliques or whatever else it may be."
Ooh, get her. Get her.
Ooh. And then Bernie's reply was beautiful. Bernie said earlier today, on the best days, I know at least my wife likes me.
What a sweet man.
That's
Oh
awesome.
my gosh. And then just to really, let's like really tie this up. This is updated as little as 2 hours ago, like right when we started. Hillary Clinton clarifies that she will support the Democratic nominee, even if it's Bernie Sanders.
That's stupid backpedaling.
And this is Clinton's tweet. "I thought everyone wanted my authentic, unvarnished views. But to be serious, the number one priority for our country and world is retiring Trump. And, as I always have, I will do whatever I can to support our nominee." Except when you said you wouldn't support him 12 hours earlier.
Yeah. She needs to stop.
Man.
She needs to stop.
It's embarrassing. It's really sad.
I bet she doesn't feel embarrassed at all.
No, she doesn't. Which is insane.
Yeah.
But, I mean, after you get away with killing Jeffrey Epstein, you're probably not embarrassed about anything.
Dude, the thing about getting away with things is you just start to feel more invincible. You know what I mean?
And that's what's going on here.
Yeah, dude.
Man, that's interesting.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was interesting, David. How delightful.
I know. Wasn't that
I
exciting?
wish I could have seen Bernie's face when he read it. Just like,
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Oh!
Yeah, that would be pretty similar to the sound, man. Yeah.
he's
Hillary
like, it's not
Clinton-
bad enough. I got to deal with Elizabeth Warren right now.
Yeah.
But
I know, and it's crazy because,
Did you just insult me over national television?
yeah, when you look at all the pieces together, you can really see that since like 2 weeks ago, when the Iowa polls were coming in, and multiple ones were showing that
David,
Bernie Sanders
it's
is in the
2020.
lead.
We have to call them Polish Americans now.
Oh my gosh. When the 2020 polls came in, it was clear that Bernie was leading in a lot of polls. Like, not just a couple of outliers, but like not maybe a majority. I don't want to say majority, but a lot of polls are showing Bernie going in strong in the Iowa caucus, like taking the number one spot. And then all of these attacks have come up in the last 2 weeks. Like all of this Elizabeth Warren stuff. And all of it has some skew of sexism to it, which is just like...
We got to stay on message.
Yeah.
These people are feeling the burn, David. That's what the problem is. They are feeling the burn coming for their butts.
Yeah, for reals. And hopefully it gets all the way there. And
They're
we can do that.
Hold on. This guy's trying to take down millionaires, but I'm a millionaire.
Wait. Are you saying I'm not going to be skipped on this? Yeah, man. I'm so excited. I honestly think Bernie's got a good chance. If you guys are Bernie supporters, it's possible. If you're in on the team, you gotta
get out, talk to people.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing. Talk to your older family members. Tell them they need to go out and get out and vote.
Yeah.
Take them to their polling places.
I mean, there's so many people
Push
who
your grandma
are into
out
it.
of her wheelchair and drag her to the polls.
This is gonna be a crazy election, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a crazy election. All right, well, our last segment of the day, everyone, Peeps and Predicaments, the segment where we take two real or fictional people and have a debate on theoretical topics that we're going to draw out of jars. And I have the Peeps, and today is a battle of the voice box. We have Darth Vader versus Stephen Hawking.
Wow. I honestly thought it was going to be Bane.
The second one was a twist. And this is from Nathan Black, who you can actually hear on KEXP. Or KEXP. No, that's the... What is ours? KTEP. KEXP. You can hear him live in Seattle. No, you can hear him on KTEP, the local El Paso NPR station. He does all of the... introductions for the El Paso Symphony.
Nice.
So he's got a sweet, deep.
I was going to say
tone.
that voice is chocolatey, man. It's
like
smooth.
Like some nice cocoa. You're right. Anyway, what's our first predicament, Brandon?
Are you kidding me? That's what this paper says.
Yeah.
Is that Frank?
It was me.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my god.
It was me just now. So you can pull another one, but I'll go ahead and do the first one, I guess. This one just says, would become your step parent. So I imagine who would be more likely to become your step parent is how a non-writing major would probably write this.
Yeah, someone who knew how to form sentence structure would probably.
Definitely.
I'm going to go right off the bat and say they're both dead. So that's even.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess that is
that's
true.
a good hit.
Here's what I would say. We do know Stephen Hawking's a bit of a womanizer. But no one's abandoned children like Vader. You know what I'm saying? You tell me who's abandoned kids bigger than Vader.
Well, this isn't about abandoning kids.
He didn't know that they
I
were
guess that's a
born.
point
And
against Vader.
that's what I'm trying to say.
He didn't know they were born.
Come on.
You tell me through the Force he didn't know?
Yeah, that's
he
true,
knew
too. I
in the
thought
back of
about
his
that
head.
right
He was
after
just like, yeah,
Nah, okay, not my kids.
that's not my baby. I'll see you on Mari.
And if someone hadn't been chopping up younglings, then maybe he would have been there for his kid's birth. So,
True.
but he was burning on a lava planet.
It's
So
like when my
so what
dad
are you gonna
missed my
do?
birth watching an episode of Andy Griffith's Show with the doctor.
That's hilarious, man. That is
Sometimes
so
you
funny.
just got other things to do.
Too bad. I wonder if your dad remembers the episode of Andy Griffith.
I
should
hope
ask
he
him.
does.
You should
I
ask
hope it was
him.
Lisa Goodwin.
It's like, you know what? I wasn't really paying attention.
Yeah.
Okay, any opening arguments? Anyone feel strong about this? I mean, I think obviously because Darth Vader is like an evil galactic lord, that Stephen Hawking seems like the more reasonable choice.
I mean, it does. And Stephen Hawking's like, wasn't he like very wealthy?
Wait, what
know,
happened to his
to be
kids in
honest.
the Theory of Everything? Didn't he like...
I don't watch that movie.
I saw it once when it came out, and I had to watch it for school.
You know what? If you give me 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, I will.
I mean,
Because
which
I know
one of
he
these,
ditched
which
his
one of these
wife.
people would you rather have for a step parent?
Vader.
Well, I don't know, man. He's gonna chop your hand off or something.
Dude, Stephen Hawking would teach you some dope stuff.
Yeah,
or he would
but
just be like
Vader would
really
teach you the Force.
condescending. Vader would also be condescending.
Yeah.
I find your lack of cleanliness in your room disturbing.
Well, Stephen Hawking's had a lot of issues with
I know with his
with
ex-wife.
with his
paraplegic?
wives.
Yeah, with his wife.
Well, that too.
Because he was like in love with her, and then he started dating his like caretaker,
Here's a little thing
and
I
that girl
have.
screwed him over.
She's just going above and beyond the Call of Duty, man.
Here's a little thing I have about Stephen Hawking's kids. Hawking's children never garnered as much attention as their ultra famous father, obviously. But one in particular did achieve some merit with the public. Lucy Hawking, the middle child, wrote numerous books and even co-wrote one with her father. Though she's always been more in the spotlight, she's not the only one of his kids to do amazing things. Robert, the eldest child, helped take care of Hawking the most through his illness. He had aspirations to be a scientist too, though he later chose to follow the path of software engineering.
Oh, wow. That's
So I mean, we
cool.
just gotta say, like, he's got some pretty.
He's got some parenting skills.
He's got some parenting skills. He's got successful children, and he obviously had some sort of, factor in their life, not leaving them on a desert planet.
I mean,
But he did pass over force powers.
I guess that's true, but if this is your stepfather, then you're not going to get those force powers.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
That's not how
Stephen Hawking.
genetics work.
Stephen Hawking, I think.
Yeah, Stephen Hawking.
yeah, like if we're voting, I'm voting for Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
He's who I would
Bam.
choose to
Yeah.
be my stepfather if I could.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon, give us the second predict. We're always doing best of two.
Who would give a better graduation commencement speech?
Nice.
Nice.
Wow.
Man.
Well, I mean, practically Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
I mean, Stephen Hawking would give a dope commencement speech.
Yeah.
But
Very articulate
Vader's
man.
would be awesome.
But are you telling me Vader is a self-built entrepreneur? You know what I mean? It would, it
What
would
a
be like
workshop.
it'd be like having a really evil Mark Cuban doing your commencement speech. And also he would look
Well,
fantastic.
no, I mean, Vader's full of failure stories. His whole life.
That's true.
Failure.
Yeah.
His love, his relationships, his body.
Yeah, well, that's why he's consumed by the dark side. Yeah.
Because he's still just a whiny little boy.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the only benefit, especially if you were like at your high school graduation and you really didn't like the administration or something, there's a chance one of them will get force choked
Yeah.
during that speech.
Oh, yeah.
Which would be dope.
Someone would be
It
like,
would be-
excuse me, Lord Vader, we actually have to.
Dude, you would be there like with your
Or-
class and stuff, and he would walk up with a bunch of stormtroopers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then at the end of it, they'd kill the
bum.
administration and take all the kids to train them to be stormtroopers.
Okay, that sounds terrible, actually. I think we have to go with Stephen Hawking. Like, do you,
Probably what would happen.
Damn it,
Do you
Brandon,
wanna
why do you have to
graduate?
keep opening your mouth? We had it.
Do you
we
wanna-
had it.
do you want to graduate high school? Do you want to be taken away from your family and fight in endless wars?
You'd probably never see your parents.
It would have been more productive than my first couple of years straight out of high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I thought being a stormtrooper would be nice. Get to see places, get to travel the universe.
They pay for your college.
Sure, the Death
Steve-
Star blew up, but how many times can that happen?
What? Man, poor dudes. Just working on a Death Star and the rebellion blows
Yeah.
them up.
Well,
They were just there for them benefits, man.
hey,
Yeah,
I mean,
That's sweet, sweet
Contract
healthcare.
work, man. Contract work.
it's like those.
And that is a great argument for why healthcare is just a human right, man.
There you go.
yeah. Hawking's. I don't want to.
I mean, I guess it's Hawking, right?
Yeah.
Given what we have, so
Yeah.
we have now decided Hawking is our winner of today's peeps and predicts, and now we have to have him go head to head in a one predict battle against our reigning champ, who is now old Mel Gibson.
Old Mel, y'all.
Don't think Lethal Weapon. You need to think like Beaver.
Yes. That's who we were talking to.
Yeah.
About. To us. And
To
you.
ourselves. Not what women want, but anti-Semitic drunk ramblings.
Yes. Swollen neck, red faced, looks a little bit like a hedgehog.
Yeah.
What's our last
What's our
predict,
final
Brandon?
one? Give
I
it to us,
shook it up
Brandon.
like crazy,
Our guest.
and now I'm trying to unfold it because it's a sticky note and it's all stuck to it.
That'll happen.
Yeah. They're self-sealing.
Most likely to be real name IRL.
This is
I
tricky.
I don't think I would describe Mel Gibson as lame, but just like abrasive.
Yeah.
Like
Like,
extremely
I
abrasive.
feel like you're going to get what you expect with Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Stephen Hawking, you might be let down if he's like standoffish and like kind of rude.
Just quiet. Or if he talks too much. Either one sucks.
Either
Like,
one sounds kind of lame. Yeah.
Hawking's.
I'm
Dude, I don't know. Mel Gibson, old man. I think of like old man Logan at that point because he was in The Patriot. I think of The Patriot, Mel Gibson, but aged. I just want him to carry an axe.
No, but that's
Yeah,
not what we're
but
talking about.
that's
We're
not
talking
what
about
we're
old
talking
Mel
about.
Gibson,
Old Mel
Brandon. You have
Gibson
to
is
stay within the parameters.
he's a madman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but also like crazy's not lame. Crazy's kind of exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Or scary.
you're telling
which is
me
not lame.
if you go hang
Yeah.
out with Mel Gibson and he starts talking to you about his Passion of the Christ sequel, you're going to be like, this is great.
I feel like I'd be
I'd
drenched
be like,
in blood just
I
by hearing
cannot
about it.
believe what is happening.
Yeah.
right
And then he
now.
starts talking about how, like, you know, a certain group of people, a certain chosen group of people own Hollywood and are destroying his career, and how he only drinks every day.
While extremely insensitive and racist,
Yeah.
I wouldn't call that lame.
Interesting.
What if like he's like
Lame to me
calm-
is like boring. Like
yeah,
That's lame.
like
ain't
he
nothing
could be,
boring about racism. It light a fire in your tummy.
He could be
And then I
calm
would
and
fight Mel
collect.
Gibson. And just get so mad I punch Mel Gibson.
And that wouldn't be lame at all.
That would not
That would
be
be
a
a
lame
battle.
trip.
That'd be survival.
Okay.
And that's what I mean. He could be calm and collect old man, and then you trigger him, and oh man, you've opened up a bucket of worms.
I feel like you guys have sold me on this, even though you didn't need to, because there's 3 of us and we only need 2 votes to win.
It's more fun if it's unanimous.
But it
and we
seems
also
like-
make you switch sides.
It's got to be Stephen Hawking, because he's got the most potential for you to be let down by lameness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whether that be his objectification of women,
Probably, yeah. He would be objectifying women and trying to teach me math equations I don't
Yeah.
understand. And you know what is lame? Math.
it'd be like talking to real life Dr. Manhattan, and you're like, none of this makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so
Dude,
confused,
this is
dude.
going right over my
I
head.
is
like
super
science,
lame.
but I'm gonna fall asleep the first like 5 minutes. You know.
Yeah.
He's gonna get into stuff, and I'm gonna be lost.
And plus, it seems like he never really puts a lot of inflection into it when he's talking. You know what I mean? It's very monotone.
Jokes aside, that's what I was literally just thinking, because you would be dealing with that monotone versus Mel Gibson being very dynamic.
with a lot of like,
Yeah.
like a lot of like mouthy.
Oh my god, what
noises.
if you got to see him get really drunk and you get to see a Mel Gibson man cry IRL?
Dang, that would not be lame.
There
that
was
would be
nothing lame about that.
incredible.
Dude, that would be so dope.
That's the goal.
I would have a completely non-sexual orgasm. That was the cleanest way I could think of putting that.
Well, I mean, it was pretty clean.
That wasn't my first.
It was very scientific.
That wasn't my first inkling. I had to stop myself for a second because it was gonna get raw. But
Oh God.
God, imagine.
Well, here we are,
Stephen Hawking,
reigning
the new
peeps,
champ.
Yep.
reigning peeps and predicts champ. Everyone,
you roll yourself on up to the winner's circle.
it's been a
on the
wild
podium.
ride on peeps and predicts lately. We've been
Once
flipping
you get
and flopping.
stupid Batman out of the mix, it could be anybody. It's anybody's game.
That's true. Until he
Yeah.
comes back,
Yeah.
Any given Sunday.
the bat is back. Everyone, thank you for listening to the episode. Let us know what other subgenres of movies we need to hit.
Get as specific as you want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Get his-
it
get
makes
what
our
you
job
got.
easier.
Yeah. And
Brandon, thank you so much for hanging out for this one, man.
yeah,
Yes.
that was a lot of fun.
Thanks for
Thanks for
having
coming
me.
on, man. Look out for some new content on the way. We're going to be doing a little bit of like a CLE roundup. I don't want to spoil what exactly is going on.
Yeah, make sure you check out the YouTube for all the video segments.
Yeah,
Got
we're-
something special in the works.
We're going to continue the 2020 movies that take place in 2020 CLEs,
Yes.
which I think next is going to be Quiet Place. So that'll be around the corner. So we're ready for Quiet Place 2 when that comes out.
Makes sense.
And
It's almost as if we thought about that order and put it into a schedule that way on purpose.
yeah. Thinking ahead.
Thinking ahead.
Let that be our 2020 mission.
Goodbye. Farewell.
Goodbye, David.